Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Marvel's Super God Game Producer. Chapter 101. There are many ways to play virtual games. For example, the drag racing party in Ready Player One. Driving a speeding car in a virtual game can satisfy many people, add a little gimmick to it, and make it into a movie. Shudan would not be so foolish as to waste such a good opportunity of a virtual game on a small racing car. Many times, among the overwhelming online game novels, virtual online games are all pursuing one indicator, that is authenticity. Any number like 99.99%, 98%, 97% will be followed by authenticity. He didn't want to put that label on his first virtual game in history. Because since he wants to make a virtual game, he must have a perfect degree of reality, so that players can sink into it and cannot extricate themselves. A true realization of the Second World Statement. The first game design plan he came up with was League of Legends. This game is the game with the highest popularity and the longest survival time in his knowledge. Definitely, he won't be so stupid as to let players go to the Summoner's Canyon show operation in the virtual game. What kind of sand sculpture is that? Are you all dancing? He is going to transform the MOBA game, League of Legends, into a game suitable for the virtual online game mode. And the classic battle method will not be completely deleted, it can be automatically transferred to a special map when the player chooses to compete, which is Summoner's Canyon. First, let the player have an optional faction. This camp, the so-called birthplace, Demacia, Noxus, Piltover, Kumongulin. After choosing the place of birth, you can choose the race. It is known that in the universe of League of Legends, there are humans, Vastias, Yordles, and giants. The story begins with Noxus' first attack on Ionia. Players level up first, and when the level is up, no matter which side you join, it is a battle mission. In addition to campaign missions, there are definitely countless copies. The countless past events in the League of Legends universe are all dungeon materials. There is too much information about the Titans and the Star-Forging Dragon King, Shurima and Ikacia, Protoss and Darkin, Mordekaiser's brutal rule, etc., etc. In the virtual game, the relationship task is definitely not to be missed. Who wouldn't want to have some indescribable things with the goddess in the game? Topple Ari, conquer Lux, and take down the policewoman. Definitely if you have a stronger taste, you can also try CJCB to conquer Alawi. Turning all these ideas into reality still requires a very, very large amount of work. Just a small shadow island would take an extremely long time. The basic game system, Shudan, is still very good. After all kinds of game templates are made by him himself. The experience can be said to be quite rich. It's just that one of the key points of the virtual game stumped him. That is, in the world of virtual games, NPCs basically have to maintain a very high IQ, and even be able to speak and think like humans. With her programming skills alone, this is still a bit difficult. It's fine to be a hero AI, but the current League of Legends universe is obviously not just a story of a hero, but a world where many stories are connected in series. Every character is flesh and blood. Even a guard on the street, he has to be able to think. How to intelligentize and give data wisdom, this question really stumps Shudan. After much deliberation, I finally decided to hand over this task to the Red Queen. The Red Queen is considered a top-notch existence in terms of artificial intelligence. Although she has not yet been born with a human nature, there should be no problem in adjusting the character's attributes with the settings. Time flew by in this hard work, and the huge amount of work almost made Shudan feel the passage of time. In half a year, the virtual online game version of League of Legends is officially completed. In order to improve the intelligence of the NPCs in the game, the Red Queen took the initiative to use her own template to set up character-related settings. There are hundreds of millions of creatures in Runeterra. This amount of work, if it weren't for the help of the Red Queen, I am afraid that Shudan will have to work alone until the next life. Virtual games are no better than other games, and ordinary people can't help even if they want to. Definitely, Riva's super modeling ability is quite practical. Hammering his rusty old waist, Shudan stood up vigorously, with crackling noises from his waist. It's time to go to the super server in the hardware department to try the running effect. In fact, every game will go through a series of experiments before it goes on the market. It will not appear in front of the players until the merchant thinks it is okay. The Antarctic Company, or Shudan, has always been a relatively strict person. No flaws will be missed. In fact, the hardware department has established a new branch, but Shudan is still accustomed to calling it that. The super server produced by the branch is already very amazing in terms of size. In the secret warehouse, this is a huge black cube with a length, width and height of 5 meters. Standing in front of him, Shudan seemed to be looking up at the second floor. Since the hardware revolution, the size of the server is getting smaller and smaller. But this super server is contrary to it. Definitely, its performance Shudan is still very clear. Just this one can drive the 3 games of World of Warcraft, Sword of Heaven, and Crossfire at the same time. And it's so easy. You know, just for the first batch of World of Warcraft, 10 servers have been mobilized from Stark Industries. It can be seen how powerful the performance of this super server produced by Antarctic Technology Company, Limited is now. In the eyes of the whole world, I am afraid this is a black technology. I can't even buy it. He saved the packaged game in the device, and then uploaded it to this server. With the transmission of the game data, the lights on the super server slowly lit up. Z-bum. Hearing that sound, Shudan knew from the bottom of his heart that Super Serverless was overloaded. That super server, which was able to drive 3 giant games alone without being stuck, is actually overloaded by a mere game. Shudan scratched his hair, reached out and pulled towards the other one next to him. 2 super servers finally won the first virtual game with difficulty. In the process of trying the game, Shudan does not need to wear a helmet to log in, he only needs to glance at the game content, and he can know where the whole game is from. There's one problem Banner's gaming headsets haven't been able to crack. Although the death rate has been reduced, the death in the game still exists. As long as this thing exists, then this game cannot be officially released. Shudan threw the finished game to Banner, who fell into deep thought after watching it. Such a powerful game, but in the end it was delayed because of my disconnection. Shudan reached out and patted him on the shoulder, and asked, after so long, have you concluded where the problem lies? Hearing this culture, Banner was slightly taken aback, and then a wry smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Actually, it's just like what you said, I've been doing experiments with mice, even if the mice can resist for a longer time, but after all, the mice not a human being, I actually have no idea what a human being will become in the end. Then I understand. Shudan nodded, you just need a living experimental subject, right? I didn't say that. Xavier Ability Junior School. Shudan is very familiar with the road here. When making a virtual training room before, with the frequency of visits, if there are no other vehicles on the road, he can drive over with his eyes closed. I haven't seen you for a long time, but when I come here suddenly, I feel like a student returning to his alma mater. Definitely, this is Riva's alma mater, not Shudan's alma mater. Passing by the computer room, the game atmosphere here is still so enthusiastic, this is a good sign. But this time, he didn't have time to interact with these little kids, but went directly to Professor X's office. Shudan, I am very surprised by your sudden visit. Is there anything I can do to help you? Looking at the bald head in front of him, Shudan turned his head, wondering what effect would the experiment on that kind of helmet have for a super ability user of the spiritual department. But after thinking about it, if the old man was electrocuted to death during the experiment, wouldn't he be the sinner of so many people in Xavier's school? Professor, actually there are many things that need your help, it depends on your willingness. Shudan laughed. I said long ago that if you need help, the X-Men are always there. Professor X said domineeringly. Seeing this, Shudan was polite. Professor X, to be honest, I need Wolverine Logan to cooperate in doing something. Definitely, I will pay you. It's very generous. Are you looking for Logan? Professor X was also puzzled all of a sudden. If Shudan is looking for stronger Cyclops or Storm, he can understand. But what does it mean to suddenly find a Logan? Shudan saw the confusion on Professor X's face, and he explained, actually, I want Logan to cooperate in an experiment. I know his super ability, so I can guarantee his safety. Hearing the explanation, Professor X stopped talking and looked towards the door. The next moment, a middle-aged man with a rough face pushed open the door and walked in. Shudan recognized him, he was Wolverine. A mutant older than Professor X. However, at the moment Wolverine's eyes did not show any kindness. Hey, kid, you keep asking me to do things for you, do I agree? Wolverine Logan asked arrogantly. In fact, Wolverine has just come to Xavier's school, and there is only one reason why she rejects them in her heart, that Grey. It's no secret that Wolverine Logan loves Phoenix Jean Grey. Poor Cyclops, who has no idea how many layers of green hats he has on his head. For a wild wolf, if he likes a woman, he can't close too much, he just wants to chase after her. However, during this period of getting along, he discovered that Jean Grey's favorite is not her boyfriend Cyclops Scott, but another man. This kind of contrast made him almost give up Jean Grey. However, in the end he still felt that no matter what, as long as Jean Grey and Scott broke up, he would rush to confess his love at the first moment. However, just today, he finally met the man whom the women he likes often talk about. That name is exactly Shudan. Shudan smelled Wolverine's anger and dissatisfaction, but in fact, there was no real threat. Mr. Logan, I don't think it's difficult for you to communicate. I need you to lie on your back and basically don't have to do Peter's work. You will be paid $100,000 for each experiment, he said. 100,000 rewards for each experiment, this price is already not low. Logan worked hard in the underground boxing match to finally earn 10 points. $. And with such a small amount of money, this guy still likes to drink, and he will be finished when he drinks. 100,000 USD is definitely a lure for Wolverine. It's like a hungry dog smelling meat buns. However, in the face of dignity and money, Logan finally chose dignity after struggling. Boy, you play a game with me. If you win, I will go with you, and you will definitely be paid the same. Wolverine said without blushing at all, if you lose, then I will tell you never go to Xavier's school again. Hearing this proposal, Shudan put his hands behind his back, looked at Professor X, and replied to Wolverine Logan, Logan, I don't actually want to fight with you. After all, we will cooperate later. If you accidentally hurt you what if you don't give me a sincere job? You don't need to worry about this, just find a way to hit me first. Boy. With that said, Wolverine walked outside, followed closely by Dan. The two came to the yard, which should have been a paradise full of laughter, but now because everyone is addicted to games, few people come out to play. Wolverine Logan looked at the prey on the opposite side. A pair of adamantium steel claws protruded slowly from between the fingers. Boy, if you admit defeat now, I can forgive you once, but if you... Okay, come on. The speech was forcibly interrupted, and Wolverine, who was already very frizzy, immediately stretched out her iron claws and stabbed Shudan mercilessly. However, his seemingly quick movements, in Shudan's eyes, were as slow as a turtle's speed. Is that all you can do? If it doesn't work, I can agree with you to admit defeat. If you admit defeat, I will double the price for you. Double it, that is, 200,000 per experiment. Who can resist this? However, out of concern, Wolverine has to carefully ponder every word of Shudan. This 200,000 plus is light, but it sounds more like sarcasm. Maid, he is hurting people. Ah! Wolverine let out a furious roar, and directly slashed at her with her claws. Logan tried his best, but he couldn't help Shudan. Finally, he chose to compromise. Sure enough, the man Jean Grey loves has real skills. But he will not give up. The current compromise is only for a greater future. One day I'll beat you. Shudan looked at Wolverine amusedly. He used to think Wolverine was wild, but now he is inexplicably stupid, like a little wolf cub. Okay, let me see. At this moment, a blue figure came out, followed by a group of little kids. That person is Beast Hank, who has worked with Shudan. For Hank's talent, Shudan still agrees very much. It's a pity that a society that discriminates against mutants cannot allow people with his appearance to show their talents. Beast Hank walked over, looked at Shudan and Wolverine, and said, 213, I just asked, are you going to use Logan as an experiment? Dude, you know it's illegal, whether he is. Hearing this, before Shudan could speak, Logan's own violent temper came up. Enough, what does my business have to do with you? I have already promised him. Don't mind your own business. Ah, well, Logan, I'm actually not worried about you, after all you can't die. I'm concerned about Shudan, because I'm afraid he will do illegal things. This is so embarrassing. Logan's face turned livid, and the adamantium claws stretched out involuntarily. It seemed that he wanted to chop Beast off on the spot. Seeing this, Shudan had no choice but to adjust. After all, Beast Hank was out of kindness. Okay, Logan, Hank, there's no need. The two of them calmed down, and suddenly, Beast Hank asked again, what kind of experiment are you going to do? What kind of person do you need, Logan? It can't be. As a researcher, everyone has a limit in their hearts, and they can't study those things that are too abnormal, such as some secret events in the island country, then they will be looked down upon very much. Shudan chuckled, the virtual game is not a military secret. It just so happens that there are a lot of people here, so they can create momentum for the virtual game first. After all, in the whole world, holographic technology has not yet been popularized. If you suddenly quit the virtual game, many people will be confused. If you deliberately let these people talk about it, it's better to spread the wind. What kind of gossip? Antarctica is going to make a new game, this time it's special. He said, last time, after building a virtual training room, I was inspired to apply virtual technology to the game. However, the game I made is not what your training room looks like, but while human neurons are connected to equipment, and the human spirit is introduced into the virtual world, which is probably such a type of game. Rao was Beast Hank, who was stunned for a long time after listening to Shudan's narration. Not to mention Wolverine, and the students in the back who heard some news vaguely were even more confused. What kind of virtual training room, what kind of neurons, what kind of energy is introduced into the virtual world? That sounds so profound. This level of knowledge has spanned several centuries. In the crowd, the fireman from last time, he still remembers the supernatural power that Shudan showed in World of Warcraft. Sightseeing. At that time, everyone thought he was a game genius, or a rich boss or something. But today, when they heard the strange words in their mouths, they realized that this person is rich. Even knowledge is like Professor X. Worship. One by one, the students adored this mysterious adult from the bottom of their hearts. It took a long time before Beast understood Shudan's words. He looked shocked, looking at Shudan's eyes, as if he saw some monster. Oh my God, buddy, do you know what you're doing? God, you've actually researched this technology now. I've considered this kind of technology before, but for various reasons, I can only make a virtual in the training room. You have already developed the technology. Why didn't you tell me? I'm sorry, I'm a little excited. Well, let me ask, what progress have you made now? Shudan looked at Beast, who was jumping excitedly, and said silently, since I have come to invite people to do experiments, what do you think? Oh my God, could it be that it's already been completed? Beast was at a loss. Others didn't understand, but Beast knew the way of this technology very well. Can I also visit it? It's not possible for now, it's still in the experimental stage, and it's unknown whether it will be successful or not. When I finish this game completely, you will see it by then. Beast nodded regretfully. As a researcher, he was unable to develop such a technology, and a game company made it. This is really ironic. After Shudan said goodbye, he led Logan towards the outside of Xavier's school. Logan got into the car, and the whole body sank a little. This Wolverine is now covered in adamantium, so it makes sense that she's heavier. It's just that it will affect Shudan's speed when drifting. They drove to Brooklyn, and they got out of the car when they arrived at the downstairs of Antarctic Biotechnology Company. Looking up at the towering building, with the familiar logo, Logan silently looked at Shudan twice. You also started this company? Not me. That's good. It's from my company. Logan said that he was speechless. It was really uncomfortable to meet such a person. But that's just the beginning of it all. The moment he walked into Antarctic Biotechnology Company, his wolf-like intuition immediately made all the hairs on his body stand on end. Here, just being in such an empty building actually made him feel scared. What the hell is here? Or has something happened? He doesn't know. Under the leadership of Shudan, Logan could only follow upstairs. The moment the elevator opened, a small red figure suddenly appeared in front of them like a ghost. Logan was taken aback, and all the claws on his hand stretched out in one fell swoop. It can be seen that this wild wolf is very nervous now. However, The Red Queen just stared at Logan's paw nonchalantly, and then asked, "Master, is this an experimental subject? It looks different from ordinary humans. I don't know what it would be like to inject him with the T-virus." Effect. Hearing the word, virus, Logan immediately turned his face. "Shu-Dan, you told me to just lie down and wear a helmet and dream. Now, what does this virus mean?" Shu-Dan looked helplessly at Logan, whose muscles were tense all over. After all, this wolf has been persecuted, and he should be very scared deep in his heart. There is really no way to deal with the Red Queen's pranks. "Red Empress, don't scare you Logan uncle, what if you get scared to death? Good person. Hey, are you speaking human language?" In the laboratory, Banner saw the visitor and silently pushed his glasses. He actually knew about Wolverine Logan. After all, the information Curry in the Antarctic Biotechnology Company really directly revealed the secrets of the entire Earth. But wherever there are electronic devices in this world that can be explored, there is no secret at all in the Antarctic host. Banner knows, this is what Shu-Dan did. When he learned about all kinds of mutants in the world, his attitude towards his own identity and the Hulk in his body also slowly changed. And since that mouse experiment, Shu-Dan has mentioned human experiments. Although Banner rejected it verbally at the time, no one could stand up to the world's first law, the law of true fragrance. He finally looked through the materials to see who in the world was the most suitable for that experiment. The ultimate goal is Mutant Logan. It's just that I didn't expect that today. Shu-Dan brought Logan in front of him so neatly. Hi, Mr. Logan, first time meeting, I'm Bruce Banner." Facing Banner's kindness, Wolverine's nose twitched, as if subconsciously. "You smell like a monster." Before Banner could make a statement, the Red Queen shouted, "Wow, this uncle doesn't seem to be polite at all. Looks like we have to find a way to inject him with a tube of T-virus." "Ah, well, the Red Queen, it's actually fine, I've been used to it for a long time." Banner waved his hand to signal the Red Queen not to protect my little brother too much, and then said to Logan, "Well, since you're here, Mr. Shu-Dan should also I have described related matters to you, this way please." Logan looked at the white laboratory, although it looked neat and quiet, but his mind just couldn't calm down. "In this bloody place, don't you want to give him an injection?" With this fear, someone pushed his back. Looking back, it was Shu-Dan. "Brother, one experiment, one time for 10 minutes, 200,000 United States dollars for 10 minutes, do you want it?" What Logan is most unconvinced about is the rival in love, although Jean Grey never admits it, and Shu-Dan has never expressed any thoughts on Chin. But he just felt that Shu-Dan was his rival in love. For rivals, Logan is very arrogant. He snorted coldly, stopped his waist, and said, "Hee, just wait, I will let you go bankrupt." Seeing Logan swaggeringly lying on the test bench, and Banner carefully putting the new gaming helmet on his head, Shu-Dan slowly smiled meaningfully. After such a long time, Banner has also upgraded the original helmet used for mice. The current gaming helmet has a very neat shape. "Let's start," Shu-Dan ordered. Banner nodded, and gently pressed Logan's chest. "Dude, you can close your eyes now." Oh, clatter. When the switch was pressed, the entire circuit began to operate, and suddenly, magical power came out from the helmet. Under this power, Logan only felt as if he had entered a tunnel. There is a dreamlike feeling of weightlessness. Suddenly, when he opened his eyes again, he had already appeared in a space without heaven and earth. Please enter the character nickname. Logan. Logan named successfully. Please choose birthplace. Ionia, Demacia, Noxus. Let's be the first one. Choose success. It's about to enter the game, please get ready. The white light quickly dissipated, and Logan appeared in a brand new world with such a dazed face. What? That is a small village. The air here is very similar to the air he breathed when he was a child. But what he was like when he was a child, he can't remember. It's been too long. Suddenly, an old man appeared in front of him. Boy, Logan looked up at the old man, and found that above his head, there was a name floating out of nowhere, the village chief. This is a small village in the east of Ionia, there are many small wooden houses here, it looks very backward. However, it was such an environment that gave him a sense of belonging inexplicably. Perhaps, he should live in such a world as a wolf. The modern world of card guns is too noisy. Out of his instinct, these simple villagers are absolutely harmless. Logan looked into the distance in amazement, and a heartfelt smile appeared on the corner of his mouth involuntarily. Haha, this guy is still laughing. Outside the virtual world, Banner observed Logan's every move from the perspective of God through the monitor. Shu Dan was also watching in front of the screen, watching Wolverine's performance, and said, I've said it before, it's time for a human experiment. After all, this game is a game developed by humans. You experiment with mice all day long, then can it work? Quote. You say you can't do it, then if I am a mouse lover, I still ask you to apologize to little white mice. Banner was so blocked that he couldn't speak. The two continued to observe Logan's every move on the screen. A minute passed, 2 minutes passed, 7 minutes have passed. Logan finally finished watching the scenery in the 7th minute, and the group cast their eyes on the old village chief. No way, this primitive small mountain village made him feel unreal, more real than a dream, more intoxicating than reality. Outside, wasted 7 minutes to accept the mission. It should be nothing. Shu Dan rolled his eyes, and immediately said, the Red Queen, send Logan a big gift package, send the undead warrior Scion there. Yes, master. Hearing such nonsense, Banner was startled, and quickly asked, would this be bad, breaking the rules of the game? There is a wool that is not good. I just want to test whether the machine will be overloaded when the human body is fighting. Besides, he is alone now, and there is a balance of wool. Banner shut up again. This time, due to Shu Dan's sudden adjustment, the duration was changed to 20 minutes. In the next 12 minutes and 59 seconds, Logan Shigangsheng was trampled to the ground by Thane and suffered all kinds of torture before finally quitting the game. Goose. After taking off the helmet, Logan breathed heavily. That scene was even more real than their virtual training room at Xavier's school. A monster more than 3 meters tall, hammer him to death. That's horrible. Oh shit, what did I see? Look at me, Logan. Logan, wake up. Wake up. Banner hurriedly hugged Logan's head and kept roaring. Finally, under Banner's roar, Logan finally came to his senses. But the adamantium claw in his hand accidentally scratched Banner. Looking at the bloody wound, Logan realized that he was addicted to the virtual world and hurt a kind person. Sorry for talking. It's okay. Banner's temper is so good. After all, before Shu Dan found him, he was practicing this in Brazil. Wow, this wolf almost went crazy. Let's inject him with a tube of T-virus. The Red Queen felt sorry for her little brother Banner's injury, and immediately controlled an instrument in the laboratory and walked towards him. Such a move almost made Logan pee laughing. As a person, he has a deep-seated fear, which is needles. Those dozens of needles pierced his body back then and injected him with adamantium. The pain is definitely not something humans can bear. If he hadn't had a strong obsession at that time, even he, a Wolverine with an extremely strong recovery ability, would have died. Now, when I see the long needle, I feel scared from the bottom of my heart. Logan stood up and hid behind the instrument in an instant. At this time, Banner smiled and said, Logan, it's okay, don't be afraid, the Red Queen sewed my wound. Sure enough, the Red Queen controlled the machine, not to inject any virus, but to disinfect and anesthetize Banner's wound, and then suture it quickly. In the end, the company's specialty medicine was sprayed on, and the wound about 10 centimeters away only took a week to recover. It has to be said that the rapid development of Antarctic Biotechnology Company is inseparable from those abnormal scientists. It is their spirit of daring to experiment that can produce all kinds of novelties. Just like this fast-healing drug, if there is no bold experiment, who would dare to exaggerate that it can heal a 10-centimeter wound in a week? Shu Dan sighed, looking at the honest man Banner. In fact, he can completely ignore Logan, let him go crazy for a while, and then he will wake up. Wounded in vain. Then he set his sights on Logan. Regarding this experiment, from the detector, there is no problem. In the game, all the data of the player is normal, and the game is running perfectly. Outside of the game, Banner also watched Logan's body's reactions through the safety device on the helmet, and everything was as if he was asleep. So, the machine shows that there is nothing wrong with this person. So, it means that the virtual game can officially declare success. About this matter, Jay will ask the person concerned again. Logan, do you feel any discomfort? Shu Dan asked seriously. Logan felt ashamed in his heart, at the moment quickly replied honestly, "My head hurts a bit, but it doesn't matter, it's just a picture." Hearing this, Shu Dan frowned. He asked cautiously, "Is it that kind of pain? Did you repair the wound yourself, or is it a general headache?" Logan thought for a while and said, "The former." This sentence ruthlessly put a negative symbol on Shu Dan's hope just now. Sure enough, this game is still harmful to the human brain. That is to say, Wolverine's abnormal recovery ability, no matter where she is injured, she can recover quickly, and only then can she recover infinitely from damage, and only under such conditions can she afford to play the game. Was this game developed just for Wolverine, a big fool? Could it be that such a long time of hard work is developing toys for a wolf? Obviously not, his game is dedicated to the whole world. Banner, who was injured, did not stop working, but sat in front of the computer and quickly analyzed the experimental data just now. Finally, he came to a conclusion. Since it is a human body, the conclusion this time is much clearer than that of a mouse. "Shu Dan, you should come over and take a look. According to this data, the current gaming helmets will still cause certain harm to ordinary people. If you want all human beings to play games, you must upgrade the physical fitness of all human beings." Quote. This sentence is easy to say, but it is a bottomless pit when it is done. How many people in the world? 7 billion people. Even if you give everyone a leg stretching pill, it will cost 7 billion, so you can't rub the skin off. No, it's not enough to polish the bones. It's not realistic. Yes, it would have been unrealistic. So, we still have to continue to study. Shu Dan curled his lips helplessly, and looked up at Wolverine. "This experiment will last for 20 minutes, and I will give you 400,000 yuan. Then, if you are willing to continue the experiment, the original price will be the same. It will be valid until it succeeds." 400,000. What a huge sum of money this is for ordinary people. But Shu Dan is just like buying spicy sticks, and then give them away. Logan nodded. To be honest, the money is very tempting. You can make money just by lying down, it's so beautiful. Well, if I can, I want to enter the game. That ruined my village, I want to kill him. Your village? Well, up to you. It seems that Logan has a sense of belonging to that small village. I don't know how many players will settle in the future, how many people will have the same idea. It's a pity that it won't be available for everyone to play for a while. At this moment, his cell phone rang suddenly. When I took it out, it turned out to be Liwa. "Hey, what's the matter?" Riva said happily. "Dan, Daisy said that she found a very interesting place, and invited us to play together Wang Qian's this weekend." "Where?" "New Mexico." Hearing the sound, Shu Dan froze in place. So many thoughts in an instant. Daisy, assistant to Jane Foster. Jane Foster, Thor's girlfriend. Hammer, Thor's hammer. On the other end of the phone, Liwa was puzzled. He thought that Shu Dan's silence meant that he was going to refuse, but what did he mean by saying a hammer all of a sudden? "Dan, I'm sorry, what are you talking about? Did I not hear you?" "Thor, Asgard. The people of Asgard. Banner said before that if this virtual game wants to be put into operation, it must give the whole people a first-level valley. Now, no more, because, he suddenly thought of an excellent experimental subject. That is, the ones with ready-made powerful bodies, the people of Asgard. For whom to play is not to play. Since the people of Asgard can afford this game, let's open up Wasteland for the people of Asgard first. Playing it for Asgard people first is an experiment, and when the technology allows it, it will be played for players on Earth." Even speaking of the people of Asgard, he has an ambition, that is, in the not-too-distant future, he will send his game to the big universe. Let everyone in the big universe play. What a great picture this is. "Dan, if you don't want to go, then I'll call Daisy back." "No, Riva, let's go, we'll go now." Liwa was confused by this sudden change. But Shu Dan became more and more anxious. He suppressed his excitement, and said, "Riva, no matter what you are doing now, immediately put down the work at hand, and give you 30 minutes of preparation time. We set off to New Mexico State." Quote. Don't be so anxious. Okay, I'll do it. In order to get to New Mexico as soon as possible, Shu Dan even bought a helicopter. Riding in the helicopter, Leva's eyes kept falling on Shu Dan's face. Why is he suddenly in such a hurry to go to New Mexico? Maybe he wants to see Daisy. Yes, Daisy's belly is so big, men like it. But, when did he have relationship with Daisy? Shu Dan's way of thinking is completely different from what Riva thought. How could he care about Daisy now? A mere Daisy is not a goddess, there is no woman in this world worthy of his anxiety. He was just thinking about how to promote his game to Asgard. Asgard, but the place called Asgard by mortals. Shu Dan also knows a thing or two about the people there. Although I thought of promoting the game, how to promote it has become a problem. There are only two choices in front of us now. First, take a line through Thor, find an opportunity to propose to enter Asgard. Second, wait for the arrival of the evil god Loki, and find an opportunity to meet and cooperate. The second policy is obviously somewhat risky. The evil god Loki is not a good thing. If you say yes in the first sentence, you may betray in the next sentence. Besides, that dude has serious racial discrimination and looks down on Earthlings. Well, it really is the first one that is safe. New Mexico. Some time ago, there was an abnormally strong magnetic field here, and a hammer fell from the sky, smashing the world into a deep pit. Many people here are queuing up thinking about how to take this treasure back to their homes. Unfortunately, no one can move Mjolnir. S.H.I.E.L.D. took over, and quickly established a temporary base. As for Jane Foster, she brought her assistant and good friend Daisy here for her own research. They ran into a man with their car. That man was a man who looked like a sand sculpture, and he called himself Suyu. What is Thor? That is the Thor in the fairy tale. Yes, he means he is Thor. These days, when you come out to flirt with girls, you don't even look at the calendar. What a year. Don't lie to Pow, saying that you are going to go to heaven, and disappear without a trace. Scumbag. When Shu Dan and Liwa brought their servants, Gonets, Frostwolf Ghost, and Mai Shiranui, here, Daisy mysteriously took a few people to visit the place. What a scumbag. In a restaurant, Thor is dining with Jane Faith. Hearing footsteps, both of them looked towards the door in unison. Wow, Daisy, you said you picked up so many friends. Thor's focus was different. He glanced at Frostwolf Ghost at first glance, frowned immediately, and asked, Daisy's friend, can you transfer your little pet to me? Shu Dan smiled slightly. His aura of being in a high position made the owner of this store feel strange. And look at the parked helicopter outside, jab. Madeline, what a god. Thor doesn't understand the strange idea humans have of a helicopter, isn't it just a car with propellers? Asgard has more advanced than that. Thor, Jane Foster snapped at Thor, that's impolite. Only then did Thor realize his gaffe, and smiled awkwardly, it's okay, I was just joking, his pet is very special. Sit down wherever you want, and order what you want to eat. Shu Dan said to the people behind him. Although Gonets and Shiranui Mai were bought, they have already adapted to this place, and there is no need to introduce anything. Arranging subordinates, Shu Dan then sat next to Thor and said, dude, you are special too. Yes, wow, I am indeed special, you have a pair of eyes. Thor was overjoyed. Pissed, the few people next to you are about to burst out laughing. They compare you with a dog, and you praise it. By the way, the dog, this dog is so strange. Why is it like that? The thing about Shinhaupen is high level. Thor happily toasted Shu Dan with a glass of wine. Since he was demoted, no one has ever appreciated him. Even Jane Foster, who invited him to dinner at the moment, was only obsessed with his beauty, and would abandon him later, at least he thought so. Only this man who just arrived, the way he looks at him is fundamentally different. That's the look at Thor, not the look of an alcoholic. Dude, Thor, would like to make friends with you, you are my best friend on earth. Come, let's have a drink together. Shu Dan reached out and called the waiter, who brought a brand new beer glass. He was happy to see the living Asgardians now, and he could drink to his heart's content. Besides, Chinese people have a culture on the wine table, this is a good opportunity. Thor, yes, yay, you have wisdom that mortals don't have. Well, that's just a character in a comic book, where's your hammer? Oh, you even know this. In fact, I already know the direction in which my hammer fell, and I plan to get it back after I'm full. When I get back Mjolnir, I will regain the power of Thor. At that time, you will know how good I am. I don't know how powerful it is, I only know that the current prince of Asgard can't afford Mjolnir. Simply put, you don't qualify. You cannot lift Mjolnir by longing for power yourself. Simply put, just don't move. So, Thor equals don't lift. Shu-Dan's conversation with Thor doesn't mean anything about Jane Foster or Daisy. Anyway, from their point of view, Thor is out of his mind, and Shu-Dan is just teasing a fool. This, then, isn't that Shu-Dan? Shu-Dan? Which Shu-Dan? It's that Shu-Dan. Oh, God, it's really him. A burst of noisy discussions sounded in the corner of the restaurant. In this small town, there are people who know Shu-Dan. It was a group of young people who came to travel in New Mexico, and unexpectedly, they bumped into the legendary Shu-Dan. That look is like a primary school student seeing a pony. Wow, those people have been talking about you, are you famous on Earth? Thor was drinking happily, pointing his glass at the crowd behind and said. Shu-Dan smiled indifferently, I dare not, I'm just a nobody. You, nobody. Thor dangled his wine glass and laughed, I don't believe it, I'm not good at all, look at the reactions of people around here, if you are nobody, then I'll get it to Mjolnir later swallow it. Hammer swallowing, this is a good acrobatic. In fact, even though Thor has lost his divine power now, his insight will not be lost. It is a skill he has developed himself. Even if he looks stupid on the surface now, he looks like a drunk. But that's just one side of him. As long as he pays attention a little bit, he can detect the changes in the expressions of the people around him since Shu-Dan came in. From this, it can be concluded that this man who knows the goods, is definitely not simple. In this corner, it is definitely not easy to dare to openly admit that he is Thor. Mystery. Thor is very curious about who this man is. After 3 or 5 bottles, Thor is like a wine cellar with 1,000 glasses of wine, but Shu-Dan still managed to get what he wanted. As dusk fell, the sky gradually darkened. Only then did the two come out, and the others had already arranged accommodation. How? Shall we walk, or run? Thor glanced eagerly at the vehicles not far away, as well as the helicopter parked in the distance, can't we make it easier? After the two met, they planned to go to find Thor's Mjolnir tonight. Now that S.H.I.E.L.D. has surrounded that area, it just so happens that they can find an opportunity to sell Thor a favor, so Shu-Dan will naturally follow. As for whether he can afford Mjolnir, that's out of the question. Do you think it's appropriate for us to swagger over? Thor thought for a while, then nodded, pointed to the car beside him and said, that's right, let's drive that little thing over there, it looks quite hidden. Shu blankly glanced, it's someone else's property. Well, it's okay to borrow it and use it. As soon as the words fell, he jumped into the car and started the ignition skillfully. It seemed that this was not the first time he had done such a thing. In the S.H.I.E.L.D. temporary position, a group of researchers are still conducting various tests on Mjolnir, and the instruments can be said to be filled around Mjolnir. They don't even dare to approach it recklessly, but wear radiation protection suits. This hammer of unknown origin is indeed emitting special radiation, because it is made of the hardest metal in Asgard. For them, this is Asgard stuff, it's the fairies' stuff. Detective Phil Coulson is the commander in charge of this project. He is running around eagerly, just trying to find out the secret of this hammer, the small size, why can't Dong-Ji move it? There are so many unsolved mysteries in the world. Is it true that no one can analyze it? Sir, we're doing a magnetic field analysis. 10 minutes ago, you answered me in the same way. Sorry, sir. Phil Coulson is considered to be a good-tempered person. If the braised eggs were here, he would definitely be scolding his mother. He turned around in a hurry, and his eyes were still looking upwards. There, standing there was a short-haired man with a mechanical bow on his back. Those eyes were as deep as Hawkeye. Agent Barton, nicknamed Hawkeye, can definitely be said to be the person with the highest force value in this temporary position. However, S.H.I.E.L.D. is stationed here, so others don't dare to come and act wildly. Woo, woo, woo. At this moment, the alarm suddenly sounded. Phil Coulson can't wait to give himself a slap in the face immediately, he will come if he thinks about it or not. Immediately, the armed force of the entire temporary position was put on guard, waiting for the invaders to come and die. The soldiers here are all mixed in S.H.I.E.L.D., and their combat ability is not weak at all. In this wilderness, it is nothing but mobs who break in. I saw a big man with long hair rushing in. That aura doesn't look like a commoner at first glance. Thor rampages like a wild bull, dare not meet anyone, rush up to knock him down as fast as he can, otherwise, it will be Thor who gets knocked down. I have to say that Thor is popular in Asgard and drinks spicy food, so this strong physique is not in vain. Now the effect of brute force is shown. Even the guards who are bigger than Thor can't withstand Thor's impact, and the two fall into the mud pit together. 0.00. It's raining. It's as if God is taking pity on Thor who has fallen to this point. The majestic Thor is fighting for food with mortals. The heavy rain quickly wet the ground, and the originally deserted land quickly turned into a swamp-like mud pit. Two people wrestled in the mud pit, and their physical strength was exhausted very quickly. But Thor's will was obviously stronger, and he finally won the victory. However, when he went to take Mjolnir with a victorious attitude, an embarrassing thing happened. He actually felt heavy. Wrong. It should be a long time since I played it, and the hand feels a little rusty. Try again. Thor took a little effort and pulled hard. But this pull made Thor's complexion change instantly. What? He looked at his hands in horror. Even he stretched out both hands to lift Mjolnir, but Mjolnir just didn't move. The veins in his arms were running wild, and he was screaming with all his might. What? In this increasingly heavy rain, Thor seemed to recall Odin's spell at that time. Phil Coulson, who was hiding in the dark and observed, shook his head in disappointment, and gave an order to Hawkeye above, attack. Why be disappointed? Because there is also hope in his heart, and he also hopes to see someone who can lift this hammer up. As a senior superhero fan, he has worshipped the Captain of the United States and other superheroes since he was very young. Name, Thor. Name, Thor, my stupid big brother. Thor slowly raised his head. He was arrested, trapped in an interrogation chair, he was in such a mess. If the comrades in Asgard saw it, they would laugh at it for 100 years. He couldn't even imagine that scene. However, a familiar figure suddenly appeared in front of him. Loki, his brother, this younger brother who planned everything carefully. He is a descendant of the Frost Titan, and Thor is a descendant of Odin. It has not been a year or two since Asgard and the Frost Titan have hated each other. But he grew up with Loki. That sense of conflict suddenly arises in Thor's heart. Listening to Loki's nonsense, Thor suddenly remembered 6 days in his heart. Shu-Dan. Before he left, he told Shu-Dan not to go too far, and let him set off firework for a while. But now, shame on you. At this moment, there was a sound of footsteps from outside, and Loki in the room just disappeared without a trace. That was already a trick Loki was very good at. At the same time, led by Detective Phil Coulson, Shu-Dan walked into this special interrogation room as if entering a house. So, dude, you got caught. Don't tell me you're actually a liar, not Thor. Shu-Dan said intentionally. Sure enough, after hearing Shu-Dan's sad words, Thor suddenly felt guilty. Shu-Dan, listen to my explanation. There must be something wrong. I can definitely lift Mjolnir. Sorry, I want to interrupt your conversation. You are not allowed to touch that hammer again. Thank you for your cooperation. Phil Coulson interrupted suddenly. Then Mr. Shu-Dan, you can take your friends and leave here safely. Quote question mark question mark question mark quote. Thor was stunned. What the hell is this? Why are these men in black so respectful in front of Shu-Dan, despite how organized and disciplined they are? Could it be that Shu-Dan's identity is really awesome on Earth? The shackles on Thor's hands are unshackled, but he's not happy at all, because he won't lift. After going out and getting into the car, Shu-Dan patted Thor on the shoulder. You can do it. If you don't lift it now, it will get better in the future. A consolation that all men on Earth understand. Thor couldn't hear it. I will definitely raise Mjolnir next time, in the name of my father Odin. Odin, who was sleeping far away in Asgard, suddenly felt a chill all over his body. Shu-Dan mourned for the old man for a few seconds, and then he asked tentatively, I just saw you talking to someone in the interrogation room, why did you disappear after entering? Huh, Thor reacted half a beat later, he wondered, did you see Loki? Loki, Shu-Dan asked pretending not to understand. Yeah, my brother. You do have a younger brother, but the comic book says that Loki is well known in Asgard, is it true? What? Haha, that Loki has such a bad reputation. He's the reason why I'm the way I am today. Impossible. It's impossible. If you don't believe me, I'll hold up Mjolnir and take you to Asgard. Okay. Shu-Dan smiled slightly. Thor also stopped arguing at the right time. Why does he always feel that he is being tricked? But I just can't figure out where the problem is. Far away in Asgard, Loki, who is assisting Frost Titan to smuggle to Asgard, can't stand it anymore. Holding the treasure that symbolizes the power of Asgard, he is also in control of a terrible monster, the Destroyer. The Destroyer looks like an empty steel titan, but don't underestimate this titan. The high-temperature rays emitted from his face can instantly burn a person to nothing. In daily life, Odin dispatched the Destroyer to guard Kuri, the treasure in Asgard. But today, Loki, who is full of crooked ideas, seems to have imagined a very tax-evading picture. Let the Destroyer go to Earth, crush and kill that stupid big brother mercilessly. On this day, the Frost Titan got the casket of ancient winters, and the energy that burst out from that small box actually froze the gatekeeper Heimdall in an instant. Well, destruction has officially come to Earth, too. The day after Thor met Mjolnir, Phil Coulson became suspicious. He is a very active agent. Why did Shu-Dan come to New Mexico in such a hurry? Why did Shu-Dan quickly strike up a friendship with this strange man? Why did Shu-Dan come to fish for people himself? What is Shu-Dan's identity? That's a character that even S.H.I.E.L.D. has a hard time recruiting. But he condescends to fish for a psychopath. Isn't this weird enough? So, he diverted some of his energies from Mjolnir and devoted himself to investigating Thor, and all things Thor. So, on a plane, he found a mark left by Bifrost. Just as he was leading the team to carefully study the brand, there was a sudden change in the sky. Feeling the terrifying power suppressed above their heads, everyone quickly retreated. Boom! It was as if the shock of a meteorite falling to the ground made the ground under everyone's feet tremble again and again. When the smoke and dust dissipated, people finally saw the things in it clearly. That's a steel titan. Whoa, is that Tony Stark's new toy? You, go get me Tony and ask him. Sir, it's not good. It was too late, but when Phil Coulson linked the Iron Man and Tony Stark, the face of the Destroyer opened quickly, and a terrifying energy was brewing from it. Even a fool would know that an attack is about to be launched. Not good. Everyone run away. Boom! A torrent of blazing energy directly blasted towards the S.H.I.E.L.D. people. Fortunately, Phil Coulson reacted in time and escaped the terrifying blow. But the car was not so lucky. Under the attack from Asgard, several special vehicles were scrapped immediately. Run, run, run. Everyone was fleeing crazily, for fear that in the next second, they would become the souls of the Steel Titan's body. Phil Coulson boarded a good car, opened the car at full speed, stepped on the accelerator and drove wildly. Tom, Tom, Tom. The heavy footsteps of the Destroyer seemed to be stepping on his heart. What kind of monster is this? Why did it suddenly appear on Earth? Is someone manipulating it, or, like that hammer, it came from a mysterious place that no one knows? Thor looks into the distance. He has seen the Destroyer. No, no, Loki, what the hell are you doing? Thor roared into the sky. What kind of destructive power the Destroyer is, he knows better than Loki. If the Destroyer wants to destroy the Earth, it's only a matter of time. Fear, helpless. Asgard has always protected the Earth. What is Loki doing now? It's murder. How to do. Just then, a voice sounded. Let's go. ? Thor looked back suspiciously, only to see, at some point, Shu-Dan had appeared by his side. And behind Shu-Dan, there are those few people standing when they first met. Gonets, my Shiranui, Frostwolf Ghost. What are you going to do? Thor seemed to think of something. No, you can't go. It's not an ordinary thing. It's the Destroyer of Asgard. You'll die in vain if you go. However, Shu-Dan just glanced at Thor twice before leaping over him and charging towards the Destroyer. Destroyer, very strong. The Destroyer is still strong, at least for Shu-Dan right now. That steel titan is covered in mysterious metals. With the advanced means of the Earth, I'm afraid it can't even be smelted. Not to mention they rush to destroy now. What's more, Destroyer has an auto-repair function. Gonets, come on. Following Shu-Dan's order, Gaunitz accelerated instantly and rushed out of the team. As a melee magician of the wind type, the master has ordered, so there are still a few hesitations. I saw that he mobilized the power of the wind while he was running, and the protection of the wind was around his body. He felt a little lighter and his speed became more agile. With this instant increase in speed, he jumped 100 meters. Then, his figure suddenly moved straight to the right at an angle that shocked the scientific community. Boom! At the place where he originally stayed, of course Rydong exploded. He used the power of the wind to predict the direction of the destroyer's attack. After dodging a blow, he suddenly raised his hands up. Following his actions, the wind around the destroyer became violent. That's a hurricane. Supernatural forces move the winds, and also the natural force fields. It's a knock-on effect. That hurricane quickly grew into a terrifying thing connecting the sky and the earth. Although the destroyer is powerful, nature is even more violent if it can't stand it. I was swept in by the tornado immediately. The high-temperature body line that was brewing also came to an abrupt end. In the howling wind, there was only a wolf howl, and the body of the ghost cub swelled suddenly, and it grew from a cub to a giant wolf in an instant. This giant wolf is bigger than the one in the building before. It seems that after it completely digested the flesh and blood of the abomination, its ability has been improved again. Gaunitz, who was suspended in the air, heard the wolf howl, and immediately moved his wrist, and a gust of wind helped the Frostwolf ghost to fly away. Thor stared at the world of lightning and thunder in the distance with a startled expression. At the moment, he feels like a Thor, like a powerless mortal, and those who are fighting are the real Thor. Obviously he should be protecting the 9 realms, but now he is being protected by the Earthlings. The thunder and lightning should be his exclusive. The howling wolf that tore through the sky, the tornado piercing through the sky, and the back that looks like the patron saint of the earth. When Shu Dan knew that he was bound to face the destroyer, he bought new skills in the points mall to enhance his strength. Most of them are powerful magic skills. After integrating those various skills, a qualitative change occurred. Magic has many attributes, such as fire, lightning, ice, etc. These attributes, even magic with conflicting attributes, are perfectly integrated in his body alone. It created his Superman's magic control. If it is said that all magic in the world comes from the 5 basic attributes of wind, thunder, water, fire and earth, then he has almost learned all the magic now. Due to the precise control of ability, his thunder and lightning will not even hurt the little wolf. Ice and flames are constantly nibbling away at the destroyed body alternately. Thor looked at it, only felt the blood rushing up, and clenched his fist tightly. The inner struggle had almost caused him to collapse. So, he planned to rush forward and help Shu Dan do something. It doesn't matter even if I am a cripple, even if I am accidentally killed, this is a warrior's choice. Accompanied by this feeling, in the temporary stronghold of S.H.I.E.L.D. dozens of miles away, the Mjolnir, which had not been touched for a long time, trembled slightly. Suddenly, Mjolnir, which has always been elusive to researchers, just flew up. Thor opens his hand, and Mjolnir returns automatically. At this moment, he finally understood Odin's painstaking efforts. Crack! The thunder and lightning on Jotun became more intensive and violent. Thor waves Mjolnir and flies towards the very center of the storm. However, just when he was about to get into the storm, he saw a blinding white light seemed to be shining in the center of the storm. Under this blinding white light, the storm gradually calmed down. And that god of war-like destroyer who was once today was broken into a lump of iron. Thor's heart is indifferent, he is still too late after all. He just got Mjolnir, it didn't help at all. The joy of regaining Mjolnir is almost nil. Oh, did you really get Mjolnir? Shu Dan's voice came from the center, holding a strange sword in his hand. Perhaps, that dazzling white light just now was the light of the sword in his hand. It was only then that Thor realized that this man who had been joking around him was actually hiding such strength. At first, he thought that it was just a very rich person on Earth. But now it seems that his mystery is not only on the surface. Shu Dan, we thought that you all have such abilities, really, some can't get used to it. Shu Dan chuckled and didn't answer. When everyone is an ordinary person, everyone is an ordinary person. So now everyone is not an ordinary person, why not get used to it? It's just not adapting to the changes in strength. Thor is Thor from the start, whether he has powers or not. Shu-Dan was human from the beginning, but he just hid his strength, and now he suddenly revealed it. What makes Thor uncomfortable is just his status. I have to go back to Asgard to deal with the rest. Shu-Dan, can you go back with me? Thor said suddenly. The destroyer, sent by Loki without a doubt. So, what has Loki been up to throughout Asgard? Thor dare not think. Since he couldn't help Shu-Dan at all just now, now he wants to invite Shu-Dan for no reason. In response, Shu-Dan took a step forward and spoke out. Into Asgard, that's what he's for. How could it be rejected? The two stepped on Bifrost's brand, and Thor yelled, Heimdall, 3 times before Bifrost came down to meet him. When riding Bifrost, the scenery in front of you turns into colorful lines. The moment he set foot on Asgard, he felt a strange feeling in his heart. Just can't capture where that feeling comes from. There was no time to take care of the seriously injured Heimdall, so he ran out directly. I saw that under Loki's means, the frost titans that had sneaked into Asgard were destroying everywhere. Father, Thor was startled, and instantly thought of his old district of Odin. Odin is still sleeping now. These hateful frost titans must be the first target of Odin. Shu-Dan, I'm sorry, I'm going ahead. With that, Thor threw Mjolnir and flew away. Shu-Dan also fell at ease. He shifted his gaze to a frost titan that was doing violence. Against the dark gold of Asgard, the frost titan is as ugly as a melt. Frost titan, so it's of the ice attribute. I don't know if I haven't mastered the fire magic, it won't work. Chick, chick, chick. The frosty titan was stunned, only to find that his legs were just gone. Ah, he wailed, and fear grabbed his body like a ghost's hand. That's not a ghost hand, that's a deadly flame. Baked snowman. Seeing the frost titan gradually turning into a mass of filth, he shook his head with some disgust. Are you? The rescued Asgard woman looked at Shu-Dan in amazement. Although there is no difference in appearance between Asgardians and Earthlings, some differences can still be seen. This man, who is not any warrior in Asgard, will come to the rescue. And killed the dreaded frost titan. At the moment, where are the soldiers? Only this one strange hero. Shu-Dan, a person from Earth. He replied without hesitation. Then, I stopped paying attention to this Asgard woman. She was not very good looking anyway. If she was saved, she would be saved. If she had to promise her life, then it would be a troublesome death. The god's domain in the west looks like a medieval church. Others call it Asgard, but there aren't even AFC king fairies. It's still heaven, there are little fairies everywhere. Before he had taken 2 steps, suddenly, there was a sound from above, and when he looked up, he saw that Thor was falling from a high altitude. He was so frightened that he hurriedly moved away 2 steps to avoid being hit. It was Loki who jumped down right after Thor. A warrior was brutalized by a magician in melee. I just didn't use my full strength. Thor quips. Who are you? Loki questioned, staring at Shu-Dan. A proud evil god, but he never cares about a person who breaks the earth. Even if he met Shu-Dan in the vast crowd, he would never remember his face. You see now, Shu-Dan, Loki is a jerk. You still say he is the famous god of Asgard. Thor stood up and complained to Shu-Dan. Hearing this, Shu-Dan almost laughed out loud, but Thor really remembered this sentence. This sentence was only used by him to provoke him. Well, it sure doesn't look like a nice guy. I am a god. As soon as he heard the theory of man and god, Loki became angry. He waved the scepter in his hand. The one he wanted to kill first turned out to be Shu-Dan. He's going to kill this ignorant, non-Asgardian. Scandium. Although the evil god Loki is positioned as a magician, his basic strength has never been weak. The stick came down, but fortunately Shu-Dan reacted in time and raised the sword in his hand to block it. Otherwise, if you get hit, I'm afraid your brain will explode on the spot. Silence. In this sword, he added the silent magic from the Dark Ranger. What magician fears most is silence. Even a magician with explosive output, when a silence skill takes effect, he is not even as good as a super soldier. Sure enough, after the silent magic invaded Loki's body, he only felt that the energy in his body stagnated. That feeling is like drinking a bucket of water in the well, but still can't get it up. In this state, he can't even release a duplication. At this moment, Thor on the side sees the opportunity to attack, and immediately slammed down with a hammer, sending Loki flying 10 feet away. Obediently, this big brother beat his younger brother to death. However, Loki was tougher, and the hammer didn't kill him. With the end of the silent magic, the energy in his body also recovered. Loki frowned at Shudan. He didn't believe that a mere nameless person would have such a weird and unpredictable ability. Maybe, it was just something wrong with my body just now. However, he underestimated Shudan's offensive. I saw the sword in his hand swinging far away, so far away, it would have been impossible to hit Loki. However, a black shadow happened to appear. This ink-splashed black shadow also held a long sword in its hand, and it slashed at Loki's shoulder like this. Ah! Loki was in pain, and cursed again and again. However, that shadow doesn't seem to intend to let Loki go at all. Scandium, Scandium, Scandium. With a series of metal clanging sounds, the evil god Loki was defeated by an unknown shadow. What is this, Dajou? Enough! Loki suddenly became angry, and was about to take out his good dagger to fight, but found that the black shadow suddenly dissipated like this. What is that? Come out! Not to mention Loki, even Thor is stupefied. He had never seen anything so weird before. However, if he has played Tian Dao and Zhen Wu, he will understand. That is Zhenwu's pretend stunt. Poor evil god Loki thought he had seen a ghost during the day, and kept yelling into the air. It turns out that the people of God's domain, who have always been aloof, also have knowledge blind spots. Shudan chuckled, slowly put away his long sword, and looked at Loki calmly. Unless Loki used duplication as a tactical double from the beginning, otherwise, he can't escape at all this time. A Thor serious enough to suppress him. Not to mention there is also a Shudan with countless mysteries here. Chapter 111. Loki was cornered. Only the scepter in his hand can save him. Although he can't use the full power of the scepter, he can use that part of his power to create opportunities for himself. So, he used magic, and then threw the scepter out, aiming at Shudan. When the attack was made, he also moved towards the other side. Shudan is attacked, he has to block or dodge. This is the gap, this is the opportunity. However, there are two people against Loki. After Thor noticed Loki's movement, he immediately flew Mjolnir out of his hand. He knew how cunning his younger brother was. Even if he was beaten and disabled, he couldn't let him escape. However, quick-witted Loki has long considered Thor. The moment Mjolnir is about to hit him, he changes direction immediately. Thor's hammer was so powerful that Loki, who was hit by the hammer, was thrown flying directly. His figure is like a kite with a broken string, flying over Bifrost and falling towards the dark abyss. Do not. Thor was shocked, and he swore that he just wanted to beat Loki, and never wanted to push Loki into the abyss. He reaches out, hoping that wise Loki will catch Mjolnir and bring him up. However, only Mjolnir came back from the abyss. Loki fell. Shudan witnessed this scene and shook his head helplessly. Pig mate, it's better not to shoot than to shoot. Originally, as long as he blocked the scepter, he could throw a control backhand. But Thor's mother was just blown away. Immortal Bobby. Immortal Hong Kong feet. Bethune. In a split second, Shudan's mind was flooded with countless pictures that were ridiculous. Do not. Thor is still screaming, and after receiving Mjolnir, he immediately flies in the direction where Loki fell. This stupid big brother is still thinking about his little brother until now when Loki almost destroyed Asgard. He wants to fly down and get Loki up. However, at this moment, a strong hand grabbed him. He looked back and saw that it was his kind and majestic old father. Thor, stop, father. That was Loki's own choice. He could have captured Mjolnir, couldn't he? Odin pulled Thor up onto the Bifrost, then patted him reassuringly on the shoulder. You met new friends on Earth. Odin suddenly looked at Shudan and asked knowingly. Yes, he is Shudan, very powerful. Oh, if you praise him for being great, then he must be very good. Odin smiled, but he knew everything. As he spoke, he walked towards Shudan. Shudan looked at the old man who was walking towards him. All kinds of emotions in his brain were very complicated, and he was a little nervous. This old man who seems to be going into the coffin is actually the Lord of Asgard. Although he looks old, his strength is going to crush Thor. Shudan. Odin. Wow, You actually know me. Shu-Dan took 2 steps forward, and he could feel the strong pressure from Odin. Sure enough, the legendary father of God is really too strong. However, no matter how strong he is, there is no reason to hurt Shu-Dan. I guess, the only one who can be called father by Thor is the Lord of Asgard, Odin. Odin smiled meaningfully, and decided to change the subject. Shu-Dan, you are different from most people on Earth, but I can't see the source of your strength. Anyway, you defended yourself on Earth, you protected Earth, you took Thor's place, and you eliminated the threat posed by Loki, so tell me, what reward do you want? This is the attitude of a superior. Just like the status of the king and the brave. Shu-Dan didn't care about this. Anyway, Odin, the Lord of Asgard, is really powerful, and his status is extremely high even in the universe. He said, I don't need rewards, if I have to, I want to discuss a cooperation with Asgard. Cooperate, yes. Shu-Dan nodded and continued, I learned from Thor that Asgard hasn't had a major battle for a long time. I think the warriors of Asgard are all dull and boring, right? Hearing this, Odin frowned slightly. He was not satisfied with this statement. Young man, the people of Asgard do not like war. Rot. Seeing Odin's righteous words, Shu-Dan almost laughed out loud. If it is said that the sun will rise from the west tomorrow, he believes it, but if it is said that the people of Asgard do not like war, then he absolutely does not believe it. How did the 9 realms come about? They were all typed by Asgardians. Moreover, there used to be a brave Hela who was not satisfied with the 9 realms. If Hela had followed Hela's wishes at that time, the current Asgard subordinates would not only be the 9 realms. Now, Odin says the Asgardians don't like war. Did you become hypocritical after painting yourself in gold? Definitely, these are just a flash in my mind. When businessmen talk about cooperation, they only take money and don't care about it. I think you've misunderstood. I didn't mean to use the warriors of Asgard to fight. This is actually a good thing for Asgard. Looking at Odin who was still frowning, Shu-Dan had to speed up his speech. Quickly, please listen to me. I have researched a virtual world that allows human spirits to enter into it to complete various tasks, battles, and training. Now that I have come to Asgard, I think that if it is given to Asgard warriors, it's a good thing. Virtual world. Odin became confused. It's not that he has never heard of virtual worlds, but what exactly is a virtual world mentioned by a mortal? Shu-Dan calmly explained. You can think of it as a game. In the game, Asgard warriors can fight and train more openly. I think that in time, the Lord Qian Yongbi can resist. Hearing this, Odin frowned again. Who dares to invade Asgard? In fact, he understood it in his heart. Frost Titans have already invaded once. Moreover, Odin has a magical ability to foresee. He can foresee that there will still be a disaster in Asgard in the not-too-distant future. Not to mention, the even more terrifying Ragnarok is coming. It's just that, in front of an Earthling, he can't put down his airs. Shu-Dan had already seen through everything, so he pretended to be stupid and said, everything in the world, there is always a precautionary measure. Anyway, Asgard warriors should also practice daily, and the same practice can be done in my virtual world, with twice the result with half the effort. Sichuan. On the skill of one's conversation. Odin was finally tempted. Asgard warriors are actually good at fighting. Daily training is also necessary. However, it is really meaningless to watch them play games there every day. It's better to see, what kind of methods are there in this virtual world that the population of the Earth speaks of. Okay, I agree to it. Hearing this, Shu-Dan was overjoyed immediately. This is finally done. He breathed a sigh of relief and said, my terminal is on Earth. If it is convenient, I have to ask Thor to go with me. At the same time, we also need Asgard's technical support to allow us to carry out cross-border transmission. Odin gestured with a big wave of his hand. After all, he has already agreed to cooperate, and the follow-up matters will naturally be given the green light all the way. Thor, I leave this matter to you. 443. After saying this, Odin left slowly. Integrating Earthtech with Asgard is a time-consuming process. Waiting is a must. However, while waiting, Shu-Dan thought of another problem. That is, since Loki has fallen, he will inevitably come together with Thanos in the end. At that time, when the Chitauri army enters the country, who will stop it? You know, one of the most powerful fighters in Avengers, Bruce Banner, is still researching day and night in his laboratory. He has very little grasp of the Green Titan's power, and he even forgot that he still has a Green Titan in his body, because the drug Shudan gave him is so powerful. Since he used it, he has never gone berserk again. Indulging in research every day and unable to extricate himself, this also makes Banner feel fulfilled. He's the one who doesn't like fighting. Right now, the strongest fighter in the Avengers Alliance is busy with scientific research, and Iron Man is busy with having fun recently, so who else can be relied on? If Chidori destroys even New York and all the people go to disaster relief, who will play games? So, an excellent idea came into his mind. That night, he attended Tony Stark's party. In fact, such parties have been held more often than usual. After Tony was rescued, he worked in the Antarctic Hardware Technology Department for a long time. There is very little time to research your own battle suit. In disguise, some timelines have been delayed. If the prediction is correct, the reason why Tony often binge now is because of serious palladium poisoning. Although there are new drugs formulated by Antarctic biotechnology, the most effective drugs in the world can only delay, not cure. If no new element is found to replace it, unless he does not use his own arc reactor, palladium poisoning will continue to increase until he dies. However, once he leaves the arc reactor, he is still dead. So, he spent the last time on the carnival. When Shudan stepped into his party, a group of peripheral girls were screaming around Tony. Tony wore a steel battle suit and danced unsightly on stage. But no matter how ugly it is still the dance of the rich. The dancing and singing of the rich are top-notch. Like a pony. Wow, let's see who's coming. Tony suddenly pointed at Shudan behind the crowd like a drunken maniac. The president of Antarctic Corporation. The godfather of games. Shudan. Ah, ah, ah. There was another series of screams, which made Shudan even want to kill those sobby women with one punch. What else but screaming? Tony, you should wake up. Shudan walked over, picked up the juice on the table, and mercilessly splashed it on his face. The onlookers were shocked. What is this? One is the richest man in the world, and the other is the man who will soon become the richest man. Is this a competition for status? This is great. The noise in the party instantly disappeared without a trace, and everyone was silent. Only the music played awkwardly. Queen Red, turn it off. Drop. The music also stopped. Tony raised his hand and wiped the juice on his face, finally regaining consciousness. But under the large audience, he was somewhat displeased with such a loss of face. Shudan, give me an explanation. Come with me. Shudan snorted coldly, turned around and left. Wearing a steel battle suit, Tony followed aggressively. In the eyes of everyone, this must be a bloody battle. After all, Tony is wearing a steel battle suit, he is the famous Iron Man. How could a game developer be able to beat it? But in fact, when the two of them walked into the dark, Tony's attitude immediately changed 180 degrees. Dan, you're not giving me face. Do you see that there are several girls? If they see me make a fool of myself, tonight will be ruined. Shudan chuckled. Even if you poured dung water on your head today, they will lick you and make you high tonight. Is that so? So I'm so handsome. Money. What? I want to buy your weapons development department. What do you say? Wait. Tony rubbed his temples. Excessive drinking gave him a headache. I've already stopped making weapons, and you know why. This is impossible. When Tony came back from the terrorists, he directly announced the closure of Stark Industries' weapons manufacturing department. This kind of decision is the same as Antarctic Corporation announced that it will close the game industry. It's stressful. In the end, though, Tony shut down. But now, Shudan brings up this matter again. Isn't that clearly exposing Tony's scars? However, is this really the case? Shudan smiled slightly and replied, Tony, if you have paid attention to the recent intelligence in New Mexico, then you should understand that the Earth is now facing a crisis. A monster, or a group of monsters, may fall from the sky at any time, and weapon research and development is a must. Tony paused. He had naturally received information from New Mexico. After all, he was at least a SHIELD consultant now. Such an earth-shattering battle, even as Iron Man, he couldn't find a solution. However, weapons are dead, but people are alive. Someone will always use weapons in dangerous places. This is a heart disease of Tony, who would have thought that he would be made into what he is now by his own weapon. Carrying an iron bump on your chest all day, pretending to be cool. No, that feeling is actually very uncomfortable. Shu-Dan seemed to have expected Tony's psychology long ago, and only heard him say, "Don't worry, I will take an insurance measure." What? This is an industry secret. I can't tell you. As long as you know, the weapons I make will never hurt any innocent people. Tony still doesn't believe it. I thought the same way when I was making weapons. After all, who knows who is innocent when a shell goes down? Quote. Seeing the stubborn donkey, Shu-Dan was slightly annoyed, and kicked Go-Ri directly. The titanium alloy steel battlesuit released a dang sound. I want to buy. Price $1.5 billion. This is a 10% discount for you, Tony said decisively. When Shu-Dan heard this, he didn't answer in a hurry, but turned his attention to the arc reactor on Tony's chest. Shouldn't it be time for you to replace it? What's the meaning? I will give you a new plan, give you a new life, and transfer the weapon department to me for free. Life. In front of life, Tony doesn't have any capital to negotiate conditions. He is now a poisoned and dying man. Most longed for, definitely still alive. What? Dan, what are you talking about? The new, you mean the new arc reactor? Tony squeezed Shu-Dan's shoulders excitedly. Like a drowning person grasping a life-saving straw. Let go of me, your battle suit stinks. Okay. After a week of transfer work, Shu-Dan signed the contract, and the weapon department of Stark Industries officially changed its name and became Antarctic Military Industry. And the new life given to Tony was actually left behind by his father, Dan just reminded him. On the day when the Antarctic Military Industry was officially established, the media from all walks of life exploded again. After all, now, Antarctica has been involved in games, hardware, medical care, and has added a military industry. Is this the rhythm of world domination? Even the military of the United States immediately sent people to urge the establishment of friendly and cooperative relations as soon as possible. But the liaison officer was suddenly killed by a wild dog on the way home. The next day, another person came. This person drove into the sea by himself and died again. On the third day, a good-looking colonel came, but his death was even worse, and he couldn't even find his body. As a result, the United States military felt that this matter was very evil, and planned to investigate these mysterious death cases first, and temporarily put aside the matter of cooperation with the Antarctic military industry. Open Department Points Mall. In the warehouse of Antarctic military industry, Curry and Shu-Dan browsed the window of weapons slowly. With the launch of Crossfire, countless more firearms appeared in his Point Mall. As we all know, the firearms in Crossfire are becoming more and more perverted, and they are not ordinary firearms at all. Often an AK-47, add a suffix to the back, it can become a magic weapon. If nothing else, just a single brick can be a sharp weapon. Bricks 6,666 points. Laser short blade 88,888 points. M4A1 Rose Fairy 110,000 points. One weapon after another dazzled Shu-Dan. Fortunately, these weapons are not expensive, and they are not Lushan bullets. With his current points, they can be wholesaled. AK-47 Fire Keelan comes first with 1,000 pieces. RPK Panlong comes with 500 pieces. Gatling Purgatory is more, and the rest of the points are all bought. In the empty warehouse, Shu-Dan was alone, like a cheating dog who brushed the code, and flew the artifact away from him as if he didn't want money. Looking at the pile of brightly colored weapons, Shu-Dan shook his head dissatisfied. Although these guns are very powerful, human physical ability is limited after all, and whether they can exert the full destructive power of these weapons is another matter. It seems that Reverse War and Overwatch are about to step up their progress. Inverse War is also a gunfight game, and it has many similarities with Crossfire. However, there is another feature in Reverse War, that is the mecha. Although those mechas are rubbish, they are not comparable to Stark's Mark series, but it is better than nothing. And, watching Pioneer can't be called a gun game, it can only be called a first-person shooting game. This thing can also find a way to be integrated into Crossfire. After all, the words, crossing the line of fire, didn't reveal their specific meanings. In Overwatch, the shooting after another can also be called the line of fire. Oh, it's really going farther and farther on the pony road. Shu Dan smiled helplessly. After returning to the company, the first thing he ordered to start was actually the PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds mode of Crossfire. Because the above two games were just his whim and hadn't been developed yet. And the mode of PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds has been warming up on the internet for a long time. It's time to release it for players to try it out. Think about the popularity of PUBG Mobile back then. In the case of the absolute dominance of LoL, PUBG Mobile can prove everything. Even many LoL anchors stopped broadcasting LoL and started playing chicken instead. I still clearly remember that a big anchor in the LoL area lost his reputation and job just to play chicken. It can be seen from these that PUBG Mobile is a game mode that is destined to become popular. When got tired of playing the small map of Crossfire and suddenly turned on the PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds mode, the first impression given to the players was that it was big. The map is huge, nervous, exciting, every second can be dangerous. Moreover, the picture quality is really touching, just like the real-life mode. Every detail is so realistic that it explodes. An exciting comparison. Unlike transport ships in Overwatch City, if you die, you will immediately get up and fight again. There is no passion. First of all, the gameplay of skydiving and picking up equipment is very novel. In the whole world, which game company can think of such a novel gameplay at this time? They cannot imitate the games produced by Antarctica. Not to mention anything new. Besides, under the dominance of Antarctic Company, other game companies have no movement, either being acquired or going bankrupt and fleeing. Maybe those colleagues hate Antarctica and Shu Dan to death. But there is no way. Business is a battlefield without gunpowder smoke. If you don't kill the enemy, you will be the one who dies. Shu Dan walked to Sky's office. She was in charge of updating the version. Sky, start the PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds mode. Hearing this, Sky curled his lips helplessly. Why did you start the new mode so much in advance? Can you make our company's announcement work? Players have responded that our update is too powerful, and they are about to play until they die suddenly. Shu Dan shook his head and said, "No way, I have plans for a new model. There are too many plans and I can't arrange them. I can only give everyone a surprise." Although Tear Open complained, but the boss ordered her to do it. Soon, such a column appeared in the system bulletin of Crossfire. System announcement. Dear players, hello, this game will be updated online in 30 seconds. To celebrate the special festival of July 12th today, the content of this update is, open the PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds mode. All the players on the server almost crushed the mouse in their hands. What the hell, it keeps people from sleeping. Why are there so many games? If you don't know how to update them, don't update them. You update so many, I haven't slept for 2 days, is it causing my sudden death? Oh, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds mode, that's fine. Kneel down, may I recharge you money, can you stop updating so diligently? I haven't cleared the Resident Evil mode yet. You are starting a new mode now. I'm ashamed to know. Father Shu Dan, Wang Jingyi, kowtowed to death in an internet cafe today. Network administrator, machine will bring another barrel of Red Bull, oh no, 2 barrels. Doesn't anyone care what the 12th of July is? Maybe it's Miss GM's menstrual period. Kyoto, in a high-end internet cafe. Minors are not allowed to enter. Have you seen the warning sign over there? Go and go. Both the network manager and the cashier stared at the girl in front of them in disgust. The girl is very angry. She is obviously 18 years old this year, and she has already come to Kyoto to go to university. The cashier of an internet cafe actually dislikes her so much. Isn't it just that the pair of false moons with pads are a little bigger? What's so great about it? Although the old lady is flat, but the old lady is rich. The scum of those who know people in the world will be shot 10,000 times instead. She took out her ID card and slammed it on the counter. Open membership, recharge 500. The cashier picked up the ID card in doubt, and looked at it carefully as if asking for proof. Oh, it turns out that he is 18 years old. As the voice was drawn out, the cashier still looked at the girl with disdain. Mada, if I hadn't heard that PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds was opened, my mother would have changed to an internet cafe a long time ago. The girl thought to herself. Finally, she turned it on in the non-smoking area. Log into her Crossfire account, click on the mysterious door, and open PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. The matching speed is very fast, which also proves the number of players in this game. In less than a second, a group of more than 90 people have been matched. The girl is wearing big earphones and holding a big mouse in her small hands, looking very cute. However, her enemies will never find her cute. Because this is a Torment King. Her operation is very skillful, as if she has watched the promotional video of PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds 100 times. Furthermore, her marksmanship is indeed very good. In the PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds mode, a good marksmanship is the father, but the girl's luck is unbelievable, and the landing is an M4. At this moment, she knocked a person to the ground, but she didn't make up the knife, just sat aside and watched that person die. Wow, Dogecoin, you Dogecoin player, you were really shameless. I'm retiring, goodbye. Knock in. How dare you scold me? Unfortunately, the player did not hear this last sound. If he heard that it was a girl, he would turn from a troll into an ultimate licking dog in an instant. After all, in this kind of gunfight game, it is rare to meet a girl. As the saying goes, what is rare is the most precious. As long as the voice is a little nice in this game, it is a goddess. The girl made up the player, then sneaked up and hid behind the cover. Because listening through the earphones, there are footsteps approaching. This game is so realistic, the sound of the rubber shoes stepping on the hay is almost like a realistic material. In terms of graphics, it is already the foundation of the Antarctic company, so there is nothing to say. If one day, the sun is going to go out, players don't believe that the quality of Angie Company's games will be poor. If there is Sunspot who dares to intentionally black Antarctic games with poor picture quality, he may be dead. Left, come. The girl muttered silently, and suddenly she became nervous. Maid, there are people on the right. Come here, listen to the footsteps, they are very heavy, I'm afraid the equipment is very good. The girl seems to have integrated into this world, she doesn't want to play games at all, but is performing agent tasks. Left, right, footsteps are clearly audible. Even the sound of breathing when people are running can be heard so clearly. The girl suddenly controlled the roll switch and threw a grenade to the right without any hesitation. Afterwards, she turned around immediately, the gun spouted flames, and swept across the people on the left. Da. In a burst of blood mist, the person on the left was knocked out directly. The poor player didn't do anything, was still enjoying the map, and was sent to the west by a sudden gun. Boom, accompanied by an explosion on the right, 2 kill words appeared in the upper right corner of the screen. Dai Sok kills Paratrooper 1 with M4. Da Sok kills Wuhei Sima Guang with a grenade. Thulium. Unfortunately, before the girl had time to be happy, she heard a gunshot, it was 98K, and her dog's head exploded from a distance. The screen turned gray, she gritted her teeth tightly, wishing she could swallow the computer alive. It's just her virginity experience, she didn't expect to kill 3 people, just hiccup. It's so uncomfortable. On a hill in the distance, a 300-pound fat man pushed his glasses and put away the 98K in his hand, leaving only a reverse arrow. Does anyone know what this reverse arrow means? I just know that in this game, the character controlled by the player can do too many things good for the king. You can even turn on the gas stove in a house and cook a bowl of noodles for yourself. As long as you are not afraid of death. Definitely, you can also ride a motorcycle and wander around every corner of the map. And an ordinary jumping car, as long as you operate it, you can even feel like driving an F1 car. Soon, this PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds mode will become a fairy suit, also known as PUBG Mobile Ragnarok. 0. It's not that there are cheats in the game, Antarctic games have never had cheats, this is common sense. It's just because there are too many players with fairy brains in this game. Even though it's a shootout game, someone can even finish the party. Obviously it is a casual game, someone can play Need for Speed. Anyway, the girl in the internet cafe played another game, this time, she wisely chose the team mode. And in her team, there was a person whose name surprised her. Shu Dan. Dai Suer looked at the name on the screen, Someone dares to imitate Shudan's father, report him later. PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds produced by Antarctic Company, the character name and CF name are synchronized, and can be in Chinese. Therefore, that player's nickname is the simple two Chinese characters, Shudan, without any modification. One must know that Shudan's global reputation is now stronger than that of the playboy Tony Stark back then. After all this, who would dare to occupy this name? Although there are tens of thousands of people with the same name and surname in Washaw, the card face is a very mysterious thing. Where to jump? Dai Sok asked by pressing the button to speak. Floor 4. Sister. There is a girl. Floor 3. Sister, you can dance wherever you want. I'm good at marksmanship, and I'm already a flower. Listening to those two voices, Dai Suer felt irritable for no reason, but she still endured it. She just wants to wait for this, Shudan, from the first floor to speak. Finally, the small horn representing the sound flashed. Floor 1. The free air ticket is definitely to sit at the end and then get off the plane. Silly socks. You. Third floor. Idiot on the first floor, there is no wool at the end, cowardly. The third floor has been disconnected. New York. In the Nanji building, Shudan took off his earphones, looked at the words, "Good luck, eat chickens tonight," on the screen, and slowly showed a smile. It's so easy. It's not that he used the internal hanger, but after the body has been strengthened, the reaction ability in all aspects is really too fierce. After a trial game, I ignored the two friend requests and decisively closed the game. If the previous, Crossfire, fulfilled the wishes of fans and created an online record for shooting games, then the PUBG Mobile mode, that is now open, can be regarded as another explosive game. According to the background display, 90% of all CF players are now flocking to the new mode. But now, he has no time to play chicken. Due to the establishment of the Antarctic military industry, all the famous people in the world now know that the predecessor of the Antarctic military industry is the Stark military industry. No matter what happened in the middle, anyway, the Antarctic military industry must be very powerful, this is a fact. Everyone has seen how powerful the munitions produced by Stark Industries were in the past, and how powerful their lethality was. That being the case, who doesn't want to open up the Antarctic military industry? With this path, it means that a certain force is ahead in terms of force. Although the Antarctic military industry was established in New York, the United States military has suffered losses 3 times in a row, and the real cause of death of the 3 of them has not yet been found out. Even if they cast suspicion on Shudan's head, they couldn't produce any evidence at all. Therefore, for the time being, I don't want to die in vain. Therefore, it is not the United States military that is here today, but someone else. Shudan, in your meeting room, looked up at the clock in the middle of the wall, and gave a slight. Sorry to keep everyone waiting, I just played a game and wasted a little time. While speaking, he walked towards the head of the conference table. Surrounding the conference table were a total of 7 middle-aged men and 2 young mature women. Each of them represents a country or a force, and behind them stands an assistant respectfully. Haha, Mr. Shudan is young and promising, he should play games, said a European. But Shudan didn't even look at him. Instead, he turned his attention to the black man in the second seat. This black man, that is, Corned Egg. It's a surprise that he's sitting here. SHIELD is a secret organization that other people don't know about. Here, everyone is looking at Nick Fury with strange eyes, because his appearance looks very much like a terrorist. Come on, dude, so many high-ranking people from many countries are waiting for you here, and you're playing the game. Nick Fury complained. As soon as these words came out, everyone was shocked. Such a familiar tone. Could it be that the Antarctic Company has already had contact with terrorists? This is a dangerous signal. Regarding this, Shudan just smiled lightly. If you feel tired of waiting, you can leave now. Our Antarctic Company can send someone to send him back safely and safely for free. No one dares to talk anymore. It cost a lot for them to come here and be able to enter the door of this meeting room. Angry. That is too underestimating the capacity of the country's high-level officials. They came here today to discuss cooperation with Shudan. If the negotiation fails, they will inexplicably add a crime when they go back. Okay, since everyone has no objections, I'll get straight to the point. We all have the ammunition that Stark Industries had, and I have more advanced ones than that. Hiss. Well, Mr. Shudan, is it possible that the Antarctic military industry can independently produce higher standard weapons? Said an old man with gray hair. Shudan said irrefutably. Definitely, otherwise, why would I set up Antarctic military industry? Picking up other people's mess. No, that's not what I meant. The old man smiled, but the others were lost in thought. If I remember correctly, Shudan of Antarctic Company was just a small boss of a game studio in the beginning. He can jump up from the game industry and achieve such a status in the game industry, it can be said that his ability is extraordinary. However, the game industry and the military industry are completely unrelated. In other words, Stark Industries has been immersed in the military industry for a long time, it is a group with a history. Those high-level military industries are all accumulated by generations and innovated by professional geniuses one by one. How come the Antarctic military industry has such a big tone just a few days after it opened? However, everyone also understands that Shudan is not the kind of person who likes to brag, so what he said is the truth. What a terrible thing this is. If any one of these 9 people is supported by the Antarctic military industry, it will be absolutely unfavorable to the other 8 people. One by one, the politicians began to make their own calculations in the bottom of their hearts. Today, even if you can't win the favor of the Antarctic military industry, you can't let others get it. It is okay for everyone to develop together, but this balance cannot be broken. Just as their politicians were fighting each other, Shudan, who was seated on the first seat, slowly stood up. Shudan said, "Before you come, you should already know that my things are not sold to those greedy people, and it is not for any of you to start a war and let me make war money or something. I'm not interested in money. Not long ago, everyone here already knows what happened in New Mexico, right? Who knows if it will fall in your home tomorrow? Is there only one of that kind of thing, or is it like an ant's nest? So, my weapon is for dealing with outsiders. On the basis of the original selling price, 20%. Love to buy, don't buy, after I finish speaking, who is in favor and who is against." After Shudan finished speaking, contract documents automatically emerged from under the conference table. Everyone was amazed by the technology, but they didn't say it. They picked up the contract and looked at it carefully. The purpose of these weapons was almost written in the rules and regulations on it. There was a long silence. A middle-aged man with a crew-shaved head and a square face took out a lighter from his pocket. Snapped. He lit a cigarette. "I signed." But at this moment, a man with a short stature sitting opposite him suddenly stood up. "Sorry, I want to answer the phone." Shudan nodded in agreement. 5 short men quickly ran out of the conference hall and got into the bathroom. He said to the mobile phone, Hey, that's what Shudan Sang said. His agreement is like this 83. Not long after, a cold snort came from the other end of the phone, HMPH. What a roar. Why do we abide by his agreement? What is he? Get the weapon, we have the final say. Hey. After finishing the short call, the man silently returned to the conference table, and signed that seemingly excessive agreement without any hesitation. In the end, all 9 of them signed. In front of Shudan's speech, in front of the reality they know, because of their different wisdom and vision, they cannot refuse the weapon Shudan provided today. After a month, the first batch of weapons departed from the warehouse of the Antarctic military industry and flew to the Far East. Immediately following the second batch, Xifi missed. Island nation. They received the second shipment. Greedy, they even want to snatch this huge amounts of drone. However, they can only think about the unmanned transport aircraft controlled by the Red Queen. Looking at the neatly arranged goods on the ground, a man with an ugly face walked over. He eagerly opened the box and looked at a firearm inside. With this firearm, the appearance of AK-47 Huokilin can be vaguely seen. However, under the processing of Antarctic military industry, the current rifle is full of sense of technology. Both the bullet and the power have been greatly improved, and a stabilizer has even been added. The ugly man picked up the gun, and the smile on his face could no longer be restrained. Ha ha ha, our big island country also has such weapons. Dan, why did you sell weapons to the island country? I remember you hated that place. Shudan in the seat smiled slightly, although I'm not interested in money, I'm still interested in making money. Why don't I accept the money they give away for free? But, weapons. There are safety devices on all the weapons, and it is clearly written in the agreement. If anyone wants to use the batch of weapons I sold to attack humans, then the one who will cry will only be them. After a month of buffering, it's time for Shudan to implement the previous plans. Before, when he was exchanging weapons, he thought that these firearms and missiles alone were not enough to fight against alien invasions. Therefore, we intend to develop the two games, Reverse War, and Watching Pioneer. On the one hand, I have taken a fancy to the mechs in the game, on the other hand, it can also expand the Antarctic game library. The production of these two games is actually not difficult. Even for Shudan now, it's very simple. The establishment of Antarctic Technology Company, Limited has basically solved the problem of advanced hardware, and the rest is nothing to worry about. He can even hand over these two games to the team. Unknowingly, they have actually become experienced veterans. Making these two games is just a breakthrough. What Shudan has to do is to oversee the work, which has been optimized in the later stage. Now, after a month of thinking, a flash of light appeared in his mind again. May I ask, what will the people on Earth face in the near future? It's interstellar invasion. The Chitauri army invades. So, what is the closest game genre to this? Definitely it's Starcraft. But as we all know, what kind of game is Starcraft? Is a cover killer game. That's right, how many people have seen the pictures of Starcraft, thinking that it is for players to go in and drive spaceships, space battleships, and big guys to fight passionately in space. But when I entered the game, I realized that this cheating game turned out to be an ancient game. To pay tribute to the classics, one version of Warcraft is enough. There is no need for Starcraft to continue that kind of gameplay. In other words, he wants to make a Starcraft ideal for players. The vast universe, the space fleet like a torrent of steel, the dense firepower network, and the advanced destructive weapons one by one. Players plunder the resources of the universe and compete for hegemony in the real interstellar world. What a grand scene this is. Shudan woke up the computer and put his hand on the keyboard, but he didn't know where it was raining. This game that exists in the imagination, the scene is too grand. In game terms, the map is too big. One of the subjective factors caused by the large map is that the game package is too large. Games like World of Warcraft have already occupied dozens of gigabytes of memory. If the Starcraft in his mind is produced, I am afraid it will cost 1 TB. 1 TB is equal to 1024 GB. Now whose computer hard drive is that big? At least the mass players don't. Besides, who doesn't have a little collection of small movies on their hard drive? Just when he was about to give up this inspiration, suddenly, he remembered Curry's super server in the warehouse of Antarctic Technology Branch. Is it possible to use cloud technology? Cloud technology does not occupy the player's computer memory, and the server bears this burden for them. In this way, a group of real, cloud players, appeared. However, with this approach, there is still a problem too. This problem is relatively simple compared to the previous one. That's a network problem. If cloud technology is used, the player's network speed must be able to keep up. Otherwise, the network speed cannot keep up. When they play games, it takes several seconds for a command to go back and forth from the computer to the server. For such a long time, maybe my hometown was stolen without knowing it. So, is there any way to increase the speed of the internet? In the previous life, this game technology could only appear when 5G technology became popular. But now, obviously, it's not that era. If you want to delve into 5G technology now, you will have to spend more time and energy. Time alone doesn't allow it. Maid, Red Queen, make and release a StarCraft promotional video for me now, and then adopt a registration system. Whoever registers will be given a daily half-price game USB external hard drive by Nanji Technology Company, Limited. Yes, master, I am a genius. Since the last idea doesn't work, then change will work. Cloud technology is limited by network technology, which has nothing to do with game optimization. Game optimization is to reduce the hardware burden and enhance the game quality in all aspects. It is the developer side that is optimized. On the other side of the network, it is the problem of countless players. This one is hard to fix. If you want to solve network problems, it will inevitably take manpower and material resources, and more importantly, it will take a lot of time. Rather than that, it is better to use this method directly. Starcraft is undoubtedly an online game. Antarctic Corporation's online games have always been free. As for what players want to buy after entering the game, that is the player's freedom. Since the machines of the players are not enough, then, the Nanji Science and Technology branch will send a big gift, a professional game hard drive. This kind of professional game hard disk has a storage capacity of up to 100 TB. The transmission speed is currently the world's first, and it is a USB external plug-in type, which can be read in seconds after plugging in, which is extremely convenient. And its selling price is only $1,000 US, and the cost of materials for R&D is only $300 US. The rest are technical and labor costs. $1,000 US is already very cheap. But now, in order to allow more players to play this, Starcraft, he decided to sell the game directly to the players at half price. This can also be regarded as a gift to fans who have supported Antarctic work for a long time. The half price of the ultra-large capacity hard drive is only $500 US, and Antarctic Technology branch only earns $200 US. This seems to be a small profit, but in fact it is just flat. So, this move is already very conscientious. If there was such a conscientious boss in the game industry in the previous life, I am afraid that the game industry will look different. This night, on the Antarctic Forum app, many people hand-typed an invitation letter. Shu Dan invites you to enter the interstellar world. Who is Shu Dan, the person who downloaded this app? It is impossible not to know. Just like when you play QQ and WeChat, it is impossible not to know Xiao Ma. Every user entered quickly. This kind of invitation letter format is the first time everyone has seen it on the internet. On weekdays, there are only invitations for other people's weddings and celebrations, but what are the invitations on the internet? With this click, people started an era with their own hands. I saw that a black hole quickly appeared on the screen of the mobile phone or computer, sucking their software interface and desktop into it. Even their eyes seemed to be caught in life. Soon, from the extreme darkness, people saw a little light. This white spot is rapidly zooming in. In the end, people completed the time travel and entered a sci-fi era. The scenery in front of me is undoubtedly space, a beautiful space scenery. This kind of scenery is full of temptation for everyone, and at the same time definitely prepares for the fear of the unknown universe. The scenery of the big universe is so beautiful and beautiful. However, a row of silver-white warships in the distance is even more beautiful. That is the ultimate dream of countless passionate youths. How many boys have been fascinated by the vast universe since they said, "I want to be an astronaut when I grow up," or a cosmic encyclopedia, since childhood. However, as they grow older, they know more about reality. Who would dare to mention their dreams? Now those dreams are nothing but self-deprecating sentences. But Shu Dan will not laugh at them, and present this dream completely in front of them. At the moment, countless people stared wide-eyed at the silver-white space fleet. Without cutting corners, every detail of the video hits the eyes of every viewer. The huge amounts of space battleships are contained in the small screen. Everyone can clearly see every junction on the hull, every muzzle, and even the internal structure of the hull. What is this? This is Antarctica. However, just when everyone was amazed at the meticulousness of Angie Company, a flash of fire came blindingly. Yes, that's not fire, it's laser bullets. The players' eyes shifted with the camera, and they saw another fleet. Their shapes are different from these silver battleships. Those fleets are composed of black and dark red, and their hulls are just like the black ship that sailed into the Sea of Uraga, Edo Bay in 1853. Definitely, uglier and scarier ones. Corresponds to this silver-white fleet. It's like an angel versus demon struggle between uncharted universes. In this struggle, various scenes and details that challenged human cognition were used, but in the end, the unexpected party won, the sudden golden fleet. This sudden golden fleet seemed to be reaping the benefits of a fisherman. At the most critical moment, the two fleets were completely destroyed by in the simplest way. No matter how despicable such methods are, the winner is always the golden fleet. With the attitude of a victor, the golden fleet sailed to the dark red planet beside it. It turns out that the previous black and white fleets were just to compete for the resources on this red planet, she soil. But now, those things, those soils called cosmic gold, are all owned by the fishermen. This is what the players think. However, the Red Queen feels that this matter is not over yet. When the mighty Golden Fleet, like 8 million heavenly soldiers and generals, penetrated the atmosphere of the red planet and landed rapidly towards the ground. Through the layers of light clouds, everyone saw that it turned out that on this red planet, it was not a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. It is the home of Zerg. Hiss. Finally, the video ends with a roar from the Zerg Queen. Oh, why is it over? Is there another episode? Sand sculpture, you thought it was TV. Is this a sci-fi movie produced by Antarctica? When will it be released? Why didn't Shu Dan's father say it, and it wasn't mentioned in the invitation letter? Ah, the Zerg Queen scared me to death. I thought I bit my head off. When the video finished playing and the fans calmed down, they suddenly remembered one thing, that is to quickly find the boss in the forum and ask for some news. However, when they hurriedly opened the forum, they found that the entire forum had been exploded. The World of Warcraft post that originally occupied 70% of the forum has disappeared without a trace. The rest are all asking what happened to the video just now. Essence about Shu Dan's father's invitation letter just now. Click here. Essence the full version of the video, click here to get it yourself. The best sci-fi film of the year, I gave it to my knees. Essence, Starcraft. These 3 quintessential posts were clicked red and purple by enthusiastic players. Even because the message is too fast, it takes a long time to load when opening the post. In Eastern Europe, a girl with chestnut hair finally opened the 3rd post out of high expectations. The 1st floor is occupied by the poster, and there is a high-definition cover of Starcraft placed in the building. Is this a game, or? Soon, her gaze turned to the 2nd floor. The 2nd floor is also occupied by the poster, which describes the real content of today's short video. It turns out that this is actually a game. My God, this is actually a game. The girl smiled in surprise. It was the first time she had shown such a smile since her parents died. That smile is like picking up pearls on the beach. With this surprise in mind, she continued to read this post. Floor 3. Antarctic Company, a major film studio, a solid hammer. Floor 4. When will it come out? When will it come out? I will play this game even if I go bankrupt. Floor 5. I'm going to the Zerg Queen, I'm in love, yes, I'm a pervert. Floor 6. I begged Shu Dan's father to send me another invitation letter, let me read this follow-up. After reading the first 10 floors, the girl immediately closed the forum, and then quickly logged into the official website. Because in the introduction on the 2nd floor, this game is different from the usual games. This time, it is no longer the kind of game downloaded from the internet. Definitely, if you want to download it, you can, but you have to look at the estimated volume in advance, 1024 G. This is an astronomical figure for ordinary players. Even the space of the computer's hard disk can't fit such a game. Therefore, Antarctica has considered these factors and packaged the game in a professional game hard drive. Players only need to submit an application on the official website, and they can pre-order one, and it is still half price. This discount is simply a blessing from heaven for players. Now, they would dare to call Shu Dan father, even in front of their biological father. There is no way. Who made Antarctic Company so conscientious? He fulfills the wishes of all game lovers. Even, that person back then just posted a post and wrote a wish list, and Antarctic Company soon produced Crossfire. This is the courage of a big company. Dare to satisfy such an insignificant fan. Making a game is definitely not an easy task, let alone a high-quality game like Antarctica, a masterpiece game. What Antarctica pursues is quality. The promotional videos they released have always been the pictures inside the game, and they have never been fake. Unlike other game makers who spend money to make a broken CG, and then use their feet to make a pile of shit for players to eat. Just like today's Starcraft, no one has ever questioned it even if the picture has been blown up and exaggerated to such an extent. Players don't know whether Antarctic Company can create such a huge scene, but the only thing that is certain is that in any case, in the end, absolutely. That's right. In the development of Starcraft, Shudan forgot to eat and sleep for the first time. Because he himself was attracted by his own inspiration. Cooperating with Honghu, the speed of making this game is not slow. In half a year, the batch of professional game hard disks carrying the dreams of countless players have been distributed out one after another. Girls from Eastern Europe were the first players to receive hard drives. She ran home in a hurry, and then with a touch of apprehension, she inserted the hard disk with only a U-disk file size into the front USB socket of the computer host. Such a larger hard drive, is it really the 100T professional game hard drive? Impossible. Could it be that he was transferred? Such a small thing, I am afraid that it will be burned when the game is running. After all, Starcraft is so big. However, it is not. The moment she plugged the hard drive into the computer, a window popped up on the computer screen. It was a common hard drive reading bar, and so on. Why does it take only 5 seconds to read T's game package? My God, no way. This can't be fake. The girl turned on my computer subconsciously, and after seeing that there was indeed an extra memory stick displayed as 100T, she breathed a sigh of relief. Then, she moved the mouse and clicked on the hard drive. Among them, the only one lying quietly is the file belonging to Starcraft. She doesn't need to install, unzip, or even click to find startup items, but double-click to open the game. Antarctic Company is as caring as an old father. With a memory capacity of 1.2T, Starcraft entered the opening interface quickly without even a trace of lag. The girl even wondered if her computer had mutated at a certain moment, otherwise how could it be so powerful suddenly? Even 1.2T games are brought on the go. As everyone knows, this time for Starcraft, Shudan used the same medium-level optimization package as World of Warcraft back then. And because the world is too huge, the more perfect details are highlighted. After she quickly adjusted some audio and video settings, she finally clicked to enter the game. When the screen on the computer screen faded from white, a desolate land appeared in front of her. L#F equals. Here, there are no battleships, no space, and no such magnificent battlefield as in the video. Just this desolate land, and an armored car next to it. This is liar. The girl began to question, is it possible that Antarctic Company is also moving towards that kind of indiscriminate marketing method? So is that really the case? Is the so-called Starcraft just a military game with armored vehicles? Just then, a reminder appeared. Press E to get on the bus. The girl subconsciously boarded the armored vehicle. Then, there was another reminder. Select an area and expand the base vehicle. Base car. The girl froze for a moment, but finally decided to follow the game prompts and play for a while. All of this is based on the long-standing trust in Antarctic Company, otherwise, she would have closed the game long ago. Following the step-by-step instructions, she quickly mastered the basic gameplay. Barracks, power plants, and factories sprang up one after another, and the Legion force with her name was born in this place. So that's how it is. The girl suddenly woke up. This game does not send you a bunch of warships at the beginning, let you go to fight for space hegemony. Instead, sit up from a basic unit. At first, each player has only one base car, and then evolves into different forces according to different developments. Starting from competing for the resources of a planet, step by step into space, to the root of Starcraft. Thinking of the magnificent scene in that video, every player is full of motivation. There is no other reason, it is to pay attention to a sense of substitution. The game just sped up the pace of development. Everyone on the Earth cannot be born as an interstellar warlord, they are all Earthlings, and the biggest ability on the Earth may be a base vehicle. Grow, 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 and take to space. However, in the meantime, you have to watch out for your competitors. The resources on a planet are limited, and everyone wants to monopolize this resource. Then, ground war cannot be avoided. Stimulate. However, there is one more problem. There will inevitably be conflicts between new and old players, and new forces are likely to be directly captive by old forces. Definitely, Shudan also thought of this, so, in the games released in batches, each batch is an independent galaxy. Just like everything in the universe, unless you have reached the standard level of interstellar navigation and can independently step out of your own galaxy, you can invade others. The girl couldn't help but indulge in it. On this day, she didn't even feel hungry. Like other players, she has been developing. Just as Starcraft was released, Shudan received a call from Dr. Banner. He immediately put down the idea of watching the results of the first day of Starcraft, and immediately drove to Brooklyn. With apprehension, he quickly boarded the Antarctic Biotechnology building, and finally saw Banner. Okay. The short communication between the two characters, Shudan, was a burst of ecstasy. Bruce Banner, arguably the CTO of his current virtual holographic game. After coming back from Asgard last time, the two sides communicated and sent relevant personnel to cooperate to develop a cross-border server together. Because to promote virtual games in Asgard, you must need a machine that can cross borders. Or, move the server to Asgard. But obviously, this is impossible. Shudan and Banner can't live in Asgard forever. It is also impossible to just throw the results of my research in Asgard for nothing. They need data. Take the Asgard Warriors for a test run. The virtual version of League of Legends, due to the shackles of the virtual helmet technology, cannot be put into the Earth market for the time being, so we can only use the powerful Asgard people as experiments first, and take sample data. And now, with the support of Asgard technology, this metaphysical cross-border server has finally been completed. How could this not make Shudan ecstatic? This will be the first time that he has put the virtual game into operation. Banner, thank you for your hard work. He stepped forward and patted Banner on the shoulder. Ever since he came back from Brazil, he has stuck himself in this small laboratory. Although Shudan gave him various benefits, he has never indulged in pleasure. Wholeheartedly fulfill Shudan's dream. Hearing the sound, Banner pushed his glasses and smiled honestly. You know, I like to do this, and I also have a sense of accomplishment, don't I? And, mainly because the support from Asgard is in place, with me alone, I will never even think about making a cross-border server. Looking at the self-effacing Banner, Shudan patted him on the shoulder again without saying a word. It is unbelievable that the so-called cross-border server is not as big as a computer host. Square and upright, just like the fire of shape-shifting King Kong. It defies the common sense of physics, suspended in midair without any supporting power. Wonderful. Well, it's really beautiful. It is wirelessly connected to Bifrost, so there is no need to consider energy issues. To be honest, if this small cube can be thoroughly studied by humans, I'm afraid it will make technology explode forward. Shudan nodded in disbelief. Asgard's technology, oh, they call it divine power, is indeed at the cutting edge, otherwise it would not have been possible to dominate the universe. Now that the cross-border server is ready, the helmets on Asgard have already been distributed, and now the only thing left is to import the game body into it, and then, start. Speaking of the game itself, Wolverine Logan was the first Lihao to experience it last time. Logan chose a small village in Ionia. Just such a small village made Logan addicted to it. Shudan put in a lot of energy. In this first virtual online game in history, he chose the high-level optimization package of Points Mall. This is the first time he bought a high-level optimization package. Even in the World of Warcraft, that was destined to explode, he only used the medium level to optimize the mic. Just the effect of that alone can make people feel immersive. Not to mention high-level optimization packages. If anyone enters the game, and closes all panel prompts, he will probably choose to stay in that world first. Because that world is more beautiful than the real world. Even the most knowledgeable warriors of Asgard must be fascinated by it. What's more, in the continent of Valorant, compared with the real world where many people are bound, there is too much freedom. Importing the game doesn't take too long. When all the projects were ready, Shudan solemnly pressed the start button. Meanwhile, as far away in Asgard, Heimdall received the news, which he immediately told Thor. Odin handed this matter over to Thor. On the one hand, he didn't want to take care of it, and on the other hand, he was still testing Thor's ability. And now, it's clearly a success. Even he himself chose to enter it to find out. He also wants to see what the virtual world that Shudan said looks like. Lying in his bedroom, he slowly put on the game helmet specially designed according to the Asgard style. You click here. While talking to himself, he pressed the button on the left side of the helmet. After a 3-second buffer, he closed his eyes. When he opened his eyes again, he unexpectedly appeared directly in a white world. This white world is infinitely large and far away, even with his ability, he can't even see through it. Wow, interesting. Now he somewhat believes that what Shudan said is true. At this moment, a voice came from the void, and with this voice, a virtual panel appeared in front of him. Please enter the character nickname. Thor Odinson. The people of Asgard don't know what the people on Earth do, and they don't know how to play tricks in this virtual world. Furthermore, they entered this virtual world only for training, not for playing games. Therefore, it is necessary to choose the real name. Please choose birthplace. Demacia, Noxus, Ionia, Piltover. Pictures of national powers floated on the panel, sliding constantly with Thor's gaze. To be fair, when seeing cities in these countries, most Asgardians would choose Demacia without any hesitation. Because Demacia is just like their Asgards. On the surface, it looks bright and decent, but behind the scenes, there are countless dark histories hidden. There is a word called resonance. However, when Thor was choosing, he kept flipping through the pictures, and finally, his eyes skipped Demacia, and fell on CJDG, the sign with an axe painted on it, Noxus. Hey, I love this. Noxus chooses successfully. Is about to enter the game, please be prepared. 3.2.1. The white in front of my eyes was gradually infected, slowly revealing its true side. Thor's figure just appeared in the immortal fortress. He looked at the tall buildings, as if the mountains were collapsing head-on. Just looking at them gave people a sense of oppression. In the surrounding houses, the roofs of every household have strange creeps. I don't know if the custom here is to like to go to the roof or what. Thor looks down at his body. The whole body is no longer the same as he was in Asgard, but turned into a simple, even dirty linen clothes. He moved his wrist subconsciously, and was surprised to find that this so-called virtual world was no different from the real world. Can feel it all, between the bending of the fingers, the inward folds of the palm. During the movement of the wrist, the horned dragon on the arm. I'm starting to like it here. After inspecting the body, Thor began to set his sights on the world. He found that in his perception, this city is completely different from the sacred style of Asgard, and the air here is full of ominous atmosphere. The eyes of passers-by are either full of fanaticism or cunning like thieves. Let a person who has been cultivated with a sense of justice since childhood be here, and he even wants to arrest those insidious-looking guys on the spot. However, before he could make a move, a beep knocked him down. This beep sounded like it sounded in the middle of his brain. Player, Sif, requests to add you as a friend, do you agree? Sif. Thor smiled, temporarily suppressing his impulse, and replied, definitely agree. You and Sif have become friends. Sif. Thor, where are you? We are all under the giant stone statue, why can't we see your figure? Hearing the sound, Thor raised his head and looked around. He searched for a long time, but he couldn't find a decent giant stone statue. By the way, is that tombstone-like thing in the distance a stone statue? Ah, Sif, are you mistaken? If you say that thing is a stone statue, some artisans may go on strike after you leave. Demacia. Sif looked up at the statue of Durand, or the Colossus of Justice as he called it. No matter how you look at it, this is a living stone statue, okay. It's white, with big wings, and tall. If you look for it, it should be very conspicuous. Thor. Sorry, Sif, I really can't see any stone statues here. Listening to Thor's answer, Sif rolled her eyes, and then, she seemed to think of something, and quickly opened the friend list to check the location of her friends. In the game, without the support of specific props, only friends can view the location of friends, but this location is only an approximate, without coordinates, only a large area will be displayed. Thor Odinson, Noxus. Looking at the 4 big blood-red characters behind, Sif had a headache. Before she entered this virtual world, she had done a certain strategy. She still knows a little bit about the basic information about the power of these countries. Demacia and Noxus are completely hostile forces, how could Thor go to that place? It's over. All plans are in vain. God. Thor, do you know where you are now? Thor Odinson. Definitely no, I'm on the streets of Noxus. Then do you know where we are? Thor Odinson. I don't know. We're in Demacia. Thor Odinson. Oh, I see. Understood. Demacia and Noxus are mortal enemies. When they meet, they will fight to the death. The two ultimate hostile forces that never give in. Isn't our plan all born in Demacia and then fight together? You choose to be born in Noxus now, we can't even find you, because we are hostile and will be attacked by the guards if we meet. Listening to a series of complaints from Sif, Thor gradually understood the seriousness of the matter. Thor Odinson. Then what should I do? You delete the account. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.